on the way here at Bira Kart Circuit just outside Pattaya. And it is going to be an amazing battle across the competition for all of the classes. CDUX30 has certainly kicked on a pace with its 2 heats. Wins for Aaron Garcia and Kai Burke over the course of the day thus far. And now a fantastic victory for Tanawadat Vejabuti. Certainly it's gone well for Day. Now can it go well for Time, his younger brother? So Chinapat Vejabuti now getting his chance to go out. Here are some of the highlights from that Junior X30 battle, which tells us that we still haven't got a clue who is going to win the final. Every single move that Mason Kwong had for Tanawadat Vejabuti, he had a response. There was never going to be an easy settlement between these two, was there? Every single lap, pretty much, they dueled for position. Both of them had stunning overtakes, but for the moment, it was the Sodi car driver who just managed to hold on. Look how tight they're playing with there in terms of race positions. Millimeters they're exchanging at various points on the course. Some great battles throughout, but on this occasion, no matter what Mason Kwong could do, it was Tanawadat Vejabuti. Look how close they get to the edge of the race circuit as they fly through that first corner. It is literally flirting with disaster all the way through. And it is fascinating to see just how much physical exertion these drivers are taking on. Every single corner they're going flat chat with the back end kicking out. It's a bumpy circuit, so their ribs are taking a pounding. It's like Marciano versus Apollo Creed at various points. Good racecraft from both men. Look at that. Mason Kwong making his dive and Tanawadat Vejabuti trying to psych him out. Not driving into him, but trying to feint to his inside line to make him back out of the move. Not that he was going to fall for it. Wonderful racecraft and fantastic dueling between the two men. And that's just for starters. That was only the opening heat. So there's going to be a lot more where that came from over the course of today and tomorrow. But it is wonderful to see the man from Hong Kong and the Super Thai go absolutely hammer and tongs all the way through. And there's a lot more drama on the way from Heat 2 later. That was the final clincher for Tanawadat Vejabuti. Got a little bit of support from Bunya Ratkilin as well. So many good moves in Junior X30. Because we've had so few drivers stepping up from cadet and so many stepping out of junior into senior, 2026 really has become an open playground in Junior X30. And so we're going to get to see some great racecraft all the way through. That was only Heat 1. We're going to see some great races from them this year. So the 3-minute board is up for the cadets. And after a fantastic victory for Day Vejabuti, it's now time for Thai Vejabuti from pole position. But there's a bit of history on this front row of the grid because we have certainly one of the youngest front row starters in history in the INFINITY IAME Series Asia, because we have Beb right up on the front row of the grid. Nutsorong Rungmastanakul, the 9-year-old girl from just outside Bangkok. What an opportunity for her on the front row of this starting grid at home. That is wonderful. And considering that last year she was the youngest driver in the field when she made her INFINITY IAME Series Asia debut in only her 2nd ever karting weekend. And here she is, a year later, in Cadet and Cadet Rookie, and guess what? She's on the front row of the grid. That is fabulous. Behind them on the grid, we've got Libanuis Kanan and Max Schilling, the championship leader, P4. All he has to do this season is keep it in the top 5 all year long. We know how consistency is in the INFINITY IAME Series Asia paddock, and with 6 weekends of racing, you don't have to win every race. You do have to keep it favourable in all weekends, though. And I've said this to people time and time again in this sport. It's not about what you do when you win. It's about what you do when you don't. 2nds, 3rds, 4ths, 5ths, keep banging those in, and you'll get decent points over the season. It's consistency that makes you a champion. Out onto the circuit for the 2 formation laps comes the field. 36 young racers between the ages of 8 and 12. So it's Chinapat Vejabuti and Nutsorong Rungmastanakul on the front row of the grid. Libanuis Kanan is 3rd from Max Schilling. Shabalama Basalama P5 from Kalen Delsey. Great to see him really knocking on the door for the Hot Wheels races. 7th on the grid, the number 70, that is Aaron Akil. Good to see the Singaporean charging forward. Jaden Arya is alongside him on the grid. The Indonesian in 8th. Then it is Pimpat Kurang Fatai in 9th position, alongside the Australian Cruz Priolo. Cruise Control back into the race action once again. 11th on the grid for Carson Choi. 12th position for the 62, that's Mohamed Fawibowo. Then 13th on the grid for one of the new talents in the field, that is Arothran Prabu, and he's going to be signing up alongside Saharet Lerpasepakon, 14th on the grid. Then we've got number 20, that is Palatan Chanpong. He's alongside George Patrizzi, 16th on the starting grid. 17th place on the starting grid, well, that's going to be a tough one for Tutamin Set, the man from Myanmar, who is registered under a Thai license, because Myanmar doesn't have a motorsport organisation at the moment. Hopefully that will change in years to come. Alongside him on the grid will be Darren Artagani, 18th on the grid. 19th place for Sriatapatir Batarabawong, and then 20th position for the 89, that is Sidovit Sritanakul. 21st for the Australian talent Michaela Draper, great to see her back again. 22nd on the grid for the number 21, that is the new face Natawat Puramad. And then we have in 24, in 23rd on the grid, that is Tantajiva Sakunkrai, and he will be joined on the grid with the 44, that is Chotanin Itikarat. 25th on the grid for the 77, that's one of the new top one drivers, Achira Pinpuk, alongside Mofalik Faraz. And then we've got 27th on the grid, the other girl on the grid, that is Natapon Charurungrang, and she's alongside the number 12, that is Panapat Padazri for Super Club 1000. 29th on the grid for the 67, that is Taimis Ritwai. And then 30th on the grid, it is Trin Kasemsup, who is Chris's younger brother, of course. 90 is next up, that is Chayat Lemratanakan. Then 32 on the grid, that is young Ari Adulia Vichita. And then we finish off with Joshua Tan, Tuspakon Timtong, and then the last two on the grid, the 27, Morgan Helindo Sonmoy, and Xavier Carr in 45 at the back of the grid. Off we go. Are we going to go straight to racing? We are! And it's a cracking start from the front of the grid. Beb's going to have her work cut out on the outside line for LOR. On the, the private team of the Kart Republic. And Max Schilling has come through for the second row of the grid. He leads into the snail shell from 4th on the grid. Schilling has charged his way forward and leads it. How has he managed that? Fantastic work on the opening lap as Schilling hits the front immediately from the pole setter. Wow, that was a fantastic first couple of corners from the outside of the second row as well. Very difficult to polish that, and Schilling has worked his way through to the lead in front of Djibouti. Well, he's certainly going to have a target on his back for the rest of this race, but what a way to throw the gauntlet down to the opposition. 3rd place, that is the hard-charging number 75 working his way forward. That is a great start from Jaden Arya. It's been a real crazy start in this one, a proper shuffle of the deck. Djibouti trying to take on Classic Max once again, and Schilling holds on into turn 1. I've only just worked my way up here. Do you really think I'm going to relinquish? No chance. And that's opened the door for Arya. Arya's got an opportunity here on the inside of Djibouti. Sweeps through, 2nd place. Lovely job from Jaden Arya, as through comes a big charge from the Intrepid. Goodness me. Oh, and there's contact on the outside. Looks like we've had a couple of drivers drop back there from that duel. So Jaden Arya loses ground back down to 3rd behind Djibouti, and it's an absolute squabble of the deck further back. Several drivers in dire straits. We've got a spinner in that little squabble. I couldn't quite make out who it was that's dropped back, but certainly a lot of momentum lost as Beb gets her work back on the inside of Liban Lewis Kanan, and he's now going to try and take on the 86 of Shabal Basalama. Fantastic start to this race then, as Schilling leads the way. Schilling out in front of Djibouti. 3rd place for Arya. 4th is Basalama. 5th is Bebed. So Nutsarung Mustanakul, P5 from Kanan. And then it is Wibowo, Akil, Delsey, and Kurang Fatai. What a crazy start to this race. Such a shuffle of the deck. But Max Schilling has been absolutely euphoric in the first couple of laps, and he leads the way here from Chinabat Djibouti. So young Time, as he is known to English speakers, Time Djibouti, still with great pace. This is a circuit he practically lives on. It's practically his back garden, so he knows this place like the back of his hand. We've got a stationary cart on the far side of the course there. So that's one retirement from this race already then. I'm afraid to say that is Carson Choi. So the man from Hong Kong for PR1, Carson Choi, is out of this race. Big disappointment for him, as Schilling and Vejabuti are pulling well clear of the rest of the pack. Schilling is desperately trying to keep Vejabuti at bay. If he can keep his nerve and hold the inside line for these remaining 8 laps, then he's got a chance. He's trying to signal to Vejabuti, look, stop pushing. Let's just run in formation, and then we can race each other in the final 2 laps. But will he win that psychological battle? No, he won't. Vejabuti diving up the inside. Schilling keeps it wide around the outside. He taps his head. Come on, think smart. Don't just race hard, race smart. And so Schilling takes the lead back again. Wonderful psychology between these two as they work each other to a crescendo. Schilling runs wide. Vejabuti looks at the invitation, fancies a chance to take the lead. Schilling knuckles down, taps his helmet again. Look, play smart. Don't just banzai in, which is what he does. Vejabuti takes the lead back in the penultimate hairpin and gets back to the lead. So now Schilling knows that Vejabuti's not going to hang around, and he's certainly not going to play ball. So as they come off the turn together, it's going to be fascinating to see what happens next. Come on, don't defend, get on with it. Into turn 1. Vejabuti leads Schilling. Aria, Basalama, Rongwastanakul and Wibawo. Great racing in Cadet. A proper squabble in the early couple of laps has really filtered out the field a little bit somewhat. But Schilling is in a fine position here in P2, considering he started P4. He could be happy with this. But of course, Max Schilling is never satisfied. A win is what he wants, and Vejabuti has got himself a little bit of air between himself and Schilling now. So Schilling just trying to keep himself measured. He doesn't want to push too hard too soon. Got to look after tyres as much as you have pace. It's all very well to push for qualifying laps when you're out in the front end of the field, but you've also got to look after tyres, as Rongwastanakul is hassling Shabo Basalama. Basalama's struggling a little bit here to keep himself in the mix, and Basalama was rather hoping to be fighting for the victory with his teammate Schilling, and at the moment he's trying to get rid of Rongwastanakul. But Babe is having a fantastic weekend, P5 at the moment for the 9-year-old, and she is a serious talent to watch for in years to come. Barely fits in the cart, and yet still has immense amount of foresight, great intelligence and staggering maturity for her age. Great work so far for the Kart Republic ace. Let's see if she can get on terms with the Paralin of Shabo Basalama. Basalama was battling away for the victory, of course, at LYL in the final. He's taking a very wide berth there through that hairpin, but as we can see on the exit, it still works out in his favor. So clearly the team have been trying to teach them the right lines to take. So Schilling is doing his best, but he is losing a bit of ground now to Chinapat Vejabuti. So time is definitely way out in front. Time, Vejabuti, going well. Schilling, Aria, Basalama and Rongwastanakul. Still this battle for 4th continues, 5 to go. And Rongwastanakul would really love to get back into 4th position. But a top 5 finish, this is set to be her best ever result. She dives for the inside line and grabs it. P4 for Rongwastanakul. Shabo Basalama is going to try and get back in round the outside. No, you don't. She tries again on the inside of the next hairpin. Gosh, she's got some bravery. Fantastic from Rongwastanakul. But Shabo Basalama cleans up on that one. So again, Nutsarong Rongwastanakul has to go back to the drawing board and try again. But she's got some big cojones, I tell you. Great to see her fighting her corner with these guys. Runs a little bit deep there, though, through the penultimate hairpin. That could cause a bit of an issue with momentum. And she's got to be careful because Mohamed Fawibawo and Libin Lewis Kanan are not far away. Libin Lewis Kanan's got his own problems, though, because here comes Kalen Delsey to the inside line. Is Delsey going to get that move? I think he will. So Delsey to the inside line, he does. He gets the overtake there for the Hot Wheels racers further back. Good work. And so that's another overtake for Kalen Delsey. He'll be happy with that. Meanwhile, out in front, this man's putting in the good show. Chinapat Vejabuti in front of Max Schilling and Jaden Aria. Here's the move again for 4th place. Shabo Basalama in front of Nutsarong Rongwastanakul. Rongwastanakul still looking for another chance to get into 4th place. But as you can see from behind them, there's another big threat lurking. That's Mo Fawibawo. And Rungwestanakel knows that Wibowo is there, so she's got to get on with this now. Mohammed for Wibowo, P6, definitely getting hungry. Out through the hairpin. Tighten it up on the exit, come through. 3 laps to go for the leader, Chinabat Vejabuti. Max Schilling trying to hold on to second in front of Jaden Aria, but Aria is definitely giving him a little bit of pressure. I wonder if the tyre pressures are not quite in the favour of Max Schilling, because he's lost a fair amount of pace, but he's still there in second place. His talent is more than enough to keep Jaden Aria at bay for the moment, but certainly the straight line speed is with Chinabat Vejabuti at the moment. We've got a blue flag out on the circuit in front of the race leader. That is for one of the new talents in the field. I think that is going to be the Singham Motorsport driver, Time Sritrai, who needs to get out of the way of the leaders. So Time Sritrai does indeed comply and gets away from Chinabat Vejabuti's line. And so he will continue on with 2 laps remaining. Schilling still got a bit of pace here from Jaden Aria, hoping that he can hold on to that second position. Rungwestanakel is still going after the move for 4th position. So a very tricky race in the offing as Rungwestanakel fancies a go into the first turn. So still the battle's going strong here as Nutsarung Rungwestanakel tries to go back into P4. It's not going to be easy, this one, is it? Certainly not for this battle for 4th position to settle itself out. Looking for a move on the inside line as Shabba Basalama shuts the door firmly in her face there. No chance for the move into P4 for the moment. So with just a lap and a half to go, Chinabat Vejabuti leads the way, Schilling second, Aria third. But there's a lot still to come in this championship fight so early in the season, round 2 out of 6. So take every opportunity you get, use every race to your advantage and just keep it smart. Rungwestanakel fancies another crack at Shabba Basalama as we go into the last lap. The final lap of this race, and Rungwestanakel knows that Wibowo is right there behind her. So this could be a challenge to her top 5 finish at the moment. But this is certainly going to be the best result Nutsarung Rungwestanakel has ever had in the INF1NITY IAME Series Asia, and certainly the best as well for this man, Chinabat Vejabuti, going strong, keeping it present, and looking forward to a victory in the first race of the weekend. So the Vejabuti brothers, day and time, have certainly started in the best possible measure. Tanawada Vejabuti got the win earlier on, and in cadet it looks to me as though Chinabat Vejabuti is going to finish the job as well. Holds on, he's got 3 seconds clear of the rest of the field, and it's certainly looking like Daytime Motorsport is going to clean up in junior and cadet in the opening heats of the contest. So out of the final turn, just as Day did, it's Time's turn now. He gets the victory, he looks back, and the field is a country mile behind. Schilling in second, Aria in third, 4th is Basalama, and 5th is Rungwestanakel. So the only driver really to take the challenge to Chinabat Vejabuti in that one was Max Schilling with his flamboyant early start. But the pace is still with the Sodi. And a great performance from the DT Motorsport driver. He checks out Charlie out in front of the rest of the pack. So Vejabuti from Schilling and Aria, then Basalama, Rungwestanakel and Wibowo. Kaylin Delsey does beat Lima Luis Canan in the end, and Cruz Priolo gets the top 10 finish in front of Pimpat INF1NITY. But there's still so much more for the cadets to do here today at Bira. And so the drivers will obviously be wanting to put on more of a show as the day rolls on. The cadet drivers bring their carts back to the paddock, and it's a very good start indeed to proceedings. We've had the first heats then for all of the drivers in Senior X30, Junior X30 and Cadet X30. Now we get to have the real gladiators, the real stamina stallions of this field, the Master X30 competitors for drivers over the age of 30. And we've got 10 drivers in the field. Look at that, it's nice to see the sportsmanship down there, look at that. That's Thutimin Set getting a great handshake there, I believe from Achira, who shakes the hand. So yes, that is indeed a very sporting gesture there from Achira Pinpuk, who shakes hands with Thutimin Set after a great race battle between the two of them. That was only for 20th place, but the camera never lies. It's wonderful to see the two of them enjoying their race battle out on the circuit. So all of the 36 cadets having a fantastic time out on the circuit. Sadly, not all of them completing the full race distance. We had some retirements there from Carson Choi, Joshua Tan, Times Ravatki. We also had problems there from, no, sorry, just the two retirements, Carson Choi and Joshua Tan. Everybody else was able to complete the full race distance in the end. So certainly a fantastic end to a very solid, exciting opener for the Cadet X30s, and there's more where that came from. So that's race number 1 done then in senior, junior and in cadet. Master X30 is up next, and we'll see if Luke Armstrong is still going to be smiling at the end of his first encounter. So a pair of formation laps then as we get ourselves ready for the Master X30 battle. 10 drivers going to battle. Luke Armstrong, the contender at the IAME Asia Finals, alongside the reigning champion, Wirasak Yamchan. Then Harith Zaralo and Ian Willock on the second row. Tidu Kumaran along with Darren Formosa. Then Tamyuk Ho, Peter Chua, Luke Purser and Ryan Holden to complete the 10-kart field. Some very exciting battles to come, and it will certainly be full of energy, this Master X30 race. Master X30 is always about one thing above anything else: stamina. It's about keeping the pressure on for the entire length of the race, and they've got 13 laps around this course, I do believe, to give themselves an immense amount of pressure in the early stages. It is indeed 13 laps. 2 by 2, please, drivers. That's to set them into their 2 tram lines on the main straight. Now, if you've never seen a Master X30 kart race before, get ready, because these guys really don't follow the same convention as the other 3 classes. Anything could happen. I've seen all sorts of shenanigans in Master X30 over the last couple of years, including last year at LYL, when we nearly had all 5 drivers in the same race taken off in the same piece of racetrack. Let's see what happens this time as we do not go racing. Oh, Luke Armstrong and Wirasak Yamchan. A little bit too eager. I think Yamchan perhaps a little more eager than Armstrong. So the lights do not go out, and that means that we get to go round again for another formation lap. Race director Martin being very clear in the driver's briefing. He'll send them round again if they're not gridded up the way he likes it. And so the drivers will have to formulate a new plan and go round again. So with the contenders getting themselves ready for another crack at it, it could be very interesting and very entertaining to see what happens next. We've obviously got the drivers preparing themselves now in seniors, ready for their second heat. And then we'll have juniors, cadets, and masters have their second heat, followed by the third and final heat for the senior drivers at the end of the day. Boy, are they going to be exhausted by the end of this one. So Luke Armstrong ready for another exciting duel out on the course as he leads the way to the starting lineup once again. Let's see what he can do from out of the woodwork. Racing this time, Luke Armstrong goes for it. Warasaki Yamchan slots in behind him as they go forward to the first corner. Armstrong with a decent line through turn one. Kumaran is already trying to work his way forward, and that's Harith Zaralo in third position, just in front of Kumaran. So a nice clean start then in Master X30, but Armstrong is already under some early pressure from Yamchan, who really wants to get under the skin of the Australian. Tucks his way through the hairpin. Can he work his way up? Trying to get himself into position. Hairpin controls the inside line, not pushing too hard, Luke Armstrong. He can certainly open up the taps when he needs to, but Warasaki Yamchan set him up. He's going to be side by side, down to the hairpin. Armstrong goes long on the brakes. You are not going to have that inside line, sunshine. So Armstrong versus Yamchan. Excellent stuff so far. And we're going to see what Yamchan has got. Big toe already on the toe of Armstrong into the first corner. Big pressure cooking up. And Armstrong's already keeping one eye over his shoulder. He knows that the reigning champion is right behind him. Harith Zaralo is in the mix. Kumaran's with him. Then Ian Willock. Then Formosa, Tam, Purser, Chua, and Holden. Out through the hairpin again, and Yamchan really does fancy his chances, but he's twitching a little bit there in second place. The car is definitely riding the limit of what he's able to get out of it. Harith Zaralo on the CS55 chassis behind him, named after Carlos Sainz, of course, looking for his bid to work forward. Out through the hairpin, and on to the back stretch, trying to get closer to Armstrong, but Armstrong's really starting to settle into his rhythm now. And once he is in charge of his performance, that is going to be it. He will try and accelerate away from the rest of the pack. But it's so tricky here in Thailand. Yamchan, second place. Now he's going to be under pressure from Harith Zaralo. This is not what he wants. Last year, he was able to make mincemeat of the Malaysian. Well, it seems as though everybody's caught up to him in 2026. And he's certainly not going to be able to run away from Harith Zaralo like he used to. Great work from the Malaysian this weekend. The FR Johor-based driver, certainly putting on a good show to keep Tiru Kumaran at bay. Never mind focusing on Warasaki Yamchan in front. He's doing both simultaneously, though. So this is great work in third position. Fourth for Tiru Kumaran, the world's fastest surgeon. Fourth position, doing a grand job in P5 in front of Ian Willock, who's not had the best of starts. Would have liked a little bit more than that, but fifth position will certainly be a decent platform to work from. He can work his way through in the remaining 10 laps of this heat. And we've seen him do that before. So Armstrong leads the way. Then Yamchan. Harith Zaralo is third. Kumaran fourth. Then it's Willock, Formosa. Hollywood, as he's known to everybody back home in Australia. Tamuko, P7 at the moment. Second of the veterans. Then Luke Purser, Peter Chua, and Ryan Holden. All of the masters are in front of all of the veterans. That's an interesting talent that's going to need to break this deadlock of Armstrong. Look at him. He's already jogging away like a race. Tiru Kumaran right behind him. Willock is just taking his time. He knows, as does everybody, until the final. You just get yourself to the place of being there. So far, so good as the battles continuing on their way. There were some corrections from the senior races, so I'll confirm a couple of front fairing penalties. None of them, by the way, are amongst the top three. So Garthia, Gale, and Stiemenkong remain unchanged, as does Kian Shah and Leonardo Mori in the top five. So no changes needed there. There were also no changes in the top five in senior of the official C versus D heat result. So no major changes. Only one front fairing penalty amongst the competitors there. And there was a few penalties actually in the first of those senior heats. We actually had 6 drivers come away with penalties. But as I mentioned before, none of those were affected by the... none of those result. Right, Armstrong's pulled out the gap. IAME going well in second, but Harit Zaralo really is stepping up the attack. So as he comes off the hairpin and works his way up to the chicane, again, Harit Zaralo is just not quite close enough to the top one yet. And IAME is doing what he doesn't want to do. He wants to be going after Armstrong. He doesn't want to be looking over his shoulder to see how close it'll be before Harit Zaralo passes him. But we are 7 laps remaining in this one. And it does look as though IAME going to have his work cut out, keeping Harit Zaralo right on his tail throughout. So Harit Zaralo still going full guns blazing. It's going to be a busy month for the family, because if last year is anything to go by, you're going to see Harit Zaralo doing his business in Infinity IAME Series Asia, and his brothers are going to be going back at it again to take on the Lamborghini Super Trofeo Asia category. So it'll be a fantastic chance to see if Harit Zaralo can hoodwink Wedeseki IAME. This is certainly going to be a little bit of recompense for the way 2025 played out. And so for Harit Zaralo, there's plenty of reason to push, plenty of reason to give your best, as Master X30 really is starting to come into its stride now. Out through the hairpin, back up to the S's, out through the snail shell. 4th place for Tiru Kumaran in front of Ian Willock, then Darren Formosa, the first of the veterans. Still some good battles everywhere you look though, but Luke Armstrong is very much holding on to this as he leads things quite comfortably. Oh, and it looks as though we've had a retirement. It's Luke Purser. Luke Purser's pulled off. That's unfortunate. So Luke Purser in the JDP Group Lenzo, it's a mechanical problem by the look of it. So Luke Purser is out on the final hairpin. Very unfortunate indeed for the Australian, who's definitely gaining in confidence and stature every time he gets behind the wheel. This is only his 2nd weekend in the championship. But unfortunately for Luke Purser, it's not to be in the first heat of the weekend. There's still plenty of time for him to get it back, because there's still plenty of opportunities for things to turn around. So now we're going to get to see if Harit Zaralo has what it takes to go after Wedeseki IAME and actually make an overtaking move. It's a difficult balance in Master X30 because it's so much more physical when you're slightly older, because your body is obviously working harder to try and stay at physical fitness. And so every single curb, every single bump, you feel it as you hit it at full chat. And these drivers are obviously trying to take things in their stride. They don't really know much about the feeling and of the pain until they actually get out of the kart, because the adrenaline is what keeps you numb to it almost. So IAME is actually starting to extend a little bit now from Harit Zaralo. He's actually leaving the Malaysians of Zaralo and Kumaran to battle away for 3rd position a little bit. Certainly in the slower hairpins, he seems to lose that momentum he's built, but overall, when you actually look at where the top 1 Kart Republic is, by comparison to the CS55 chassis just behind him, it does look as though IAME is doing the hard work to get away here. It's going to take a while because there's nothing to choose between the two of them in terms of lap time. But Harit Zaralo still fancies a crack at 2nd position again. Luke Armstrong's long gone. But 2nd position is still very much up for grabs. We've got a full 3 laps remaining now. Armstrong has come through incredibly. He is quite a long way, 3 seconds clear of the rest of the field now. So Armstrong really has settled into his rhythm. And this is excellent news for the Australian, exactly what he wanted from this race, and certainly what everybody back home wanted as well. But Harit Zaralo doesn't even feel like he's got much in the tank left to go after Wedeseki IAME. He's going to have to worry about Kumaran. So Kumaran is there in 4th place. Behind them, Ian Willock is actually losing a little bit more ground than I thought he might. Probably leaving something in reserve for later in the weekend, because that's the thing with this particular competition. You can take a lot more time of these things. I wonder if we're going to get a technical flag here. Looks as though a meatball flag is being prepared. So I'm not entirely sure who that's going to be for, but I think we're in danger of getting a meatball flag out on the circuit. The marshals are starting to prepare it. I'm not sure who's going to get that, though. So at the moment, it is all going full guns blazing for the race leader. And certainly for Luke Armstrong, this is a comfortable position for him to be in. 2 laps remaining till the end. But the Merlin-backed driver certainly enjoying life in the lead and doesn't seem to have too much pressure on him as things currently stand. He's keeping it nice and measured, very neat and tidy. And this race has all been about measurement, and he has been so smooth. Out of the final turn, and it will be the last lap this time by. Luke Armstrong gets himself just one more turn around. Wedesek Yamchan's going to have his own work cut out for him. Harit Zaralo and Tiru Kumaran are starting to tighten up a little bit. But there is 1 lap to go, and for Luke Armstrong, it has been just so calm, so smooth. No major concerns at all for the Australian. And he's just been able to tick the laps down at his own calm pace. So can he keep this going through the rest of the weekend? That's going to be the main point of his focus. He'll want to keep this going throughout. But it's an opening gambit that Luke Armstrong can be very confident about going into the second heat later this afternoon. As he takes his way through the final turn, past the pits, the checkered flag is in the air, and it's Luke Armstrong's all over. Great start. Second place, good run from Yamchan in front of Zaralo and Kumaran. 5th place for Ian Willock. And 6th place, the worst of the veterans, is going to be Darren Formosa, ahead of Tam Yuko and Peter Chua. The last man home will be Ryan Holden on his race debut in Infinity IAME Series Asia, at least. And so that's the battles joined for the first heat for each of our classes. So it's a great opener for Luke Armstrong, the Australia, going into the weekend and certainly delivering on the promises that qualifying gave us. So we have our first race winners, Garthia, Burke, a pair of Vejabuti brothers, and Luke Armstrong. That's our starting gambit then. And now, guess what, folks? We ain't done yet. We're going to go all the way round again, starting off with a And so to the senior category for groups B versus C. We're going to see a really intense fight once again, but the 2 groups will change hands this time after we saw victory between Aaron Garthia in A versus B and Kai Burke in C versus D. It's not going to be so easy for Kai Burke to make it 2 from 2 because he will be in this race on the front row, but he'll be starting from the outside of that front row. So it's going to be much trickier for him to go for it, especially when you consider the man who's going to be on the front row of the grid with him, and that is Aaron Garthia. That's going to be a tough battle between the Spaniard and the Australian to the first turn. Boy, are we in for a show. Kai Burke is definitely going to want to put one over on the man alongside him on the front row of the grid. It'll get pretty tricky from the outset. There is Kai Burke alongside the Spanish talent, Aaron Garcia, but he's got a plethora of Birolats behind him to definitely give some early support, maybe even to get amongst them as well. Toby Gale and Dominic Setiavon are going to be working very hard from the outset, and certainly expect both drivers to work their way forward. Toby Gale, of course, championship contender in IAME Asia last season, and prolific winner in Thailand over the last couple of seasons, and in further afield as well. And don't forget, of course, the man alongside him, Dominic Setiavon, the man who represented his nation in the FIA Karting Academy Trophy. That is the competition, of course, that gave the world Charles Leclerc. So, pretty impressive stuff. Out onto the circuit, the drivers come. And still more battles to rage. It's going to get exciting. Aaron Garcia and Kai Burke, Toby Gale and Dominic Setiavon. Then Nathan Aria at P5. What a chance for him on the inside of the third row, alongside the reigning champion in senior, Yu Kapo from Hong Kong. 7th on the grid for Pata. Warapong Yamchan to everybody else. Alongside Naralimjit Panya. And then the oldest man in the competition for Senior X30, that is Tsutomu Nishimura, 55 years of age, up against drivers who are more than 30 years his junior. That is astonishing. Alongside him on the grid is Jerry Chi. We'll see what he can do from 10th position on the grid. Xi Jintong, of course, from Hong Kong. 11th on the grid is Danish Chen, alongside the hard-charging female in the field, Panya Yamchan. Great to see her in senior for the first time, and what a performance she's putting in. 13th place on the grid for the 236, that is Kantapat Naren Sukatsanti. So Kantapat Naren Sukatsanti in 13th place, alongside Jamie Ambrose, who should be having a very interesting time of it, hopefully in the second heat. Mind you, I didn't see Ambrose coming through, so I wonder if he's actually not been able to make the start of this one either. Treble 2 is next up, that is Thomas George, the 18-year-old from India, based out of Kottayam in Kerala. And he's going to be lining up alongside Jenny Bibinet. Great to see her back in the field again. And looking a lot faster than usual as well, which is much better for her. 211, Fakin Jananukul in 17th position, alongside Mika Slabbert. And then at the back of the field, it is the Chinese talent, number 263, Xiao Mozwan. So all of the drivers, all 19 of them in this field, hoping for another strong battle out on the course. So we'll see what their headway will be for the Birolats to try and crack that imperishable nut at the front of the field. Aaron Garcia, the Spanish talent, leading the way around for LOR Racing on the Kart Republic. This is going to be tough, very tough for Aaron Garcia. Once those Birolats start bouncing around behind him over these bumps, he could have a very tough mission on his hands. Let's see how it goes. They come off the turn. Very well controlled by Garcia. Are we going to start racing immediately? Yes, we are! Great start from the Spaniard up to the first turn and looking very comfortable to hold on through the first corner. Toby Gale looked like he got a terrific start there. Has he managed to get through in a second position? Well, he and Kai Burke are already going side by side to try and snap at the heels of Aaron Garcia. I can't quite make out from here if that's Gale in second or if that's Burke. But both of them having a great race of it. Setiavon's had a tricky one, and he's already lost a few positions. So certainly the Birolats are hammering on the door of Garcia, who's gone very wide. And that could be a chance. It is the 2-2-3. It's Gale who's in second, then Burke. So Gale has made the jump on his teammate. And as they charge down to the hairpin, this could be Gale on Garcia very early doors. And he needs to attack early because we know the pace that Kart Republic has. Setiavon has lost 3 places, down to 7th position then already as the leaders are breaking clear. Gale wants to take on Garcia nice and early. He's going to go for a late lunge and he has to bail out of it. Ardia is doing a grand job, by the way, in P4. The Indonesian is P4. What a start to his senior journey. 5th place for Yamchan, then Yukapo, then Setiavon, Imjipanya, Chen and Nishimura. Good starts all the way through the field then, particularly from Danish Chen. Good to see him in the top 10 nice and early. Garcia taking a really wide trajectory through that part of the hairpin, but the kart is well balanced and stable and he corrects it to get back into position behind, but he's spending a long time looking behind him on this early part of the lap. He knows that those Birolats are going to be a big threat throughout. So Gale and Burke are definitely putting the Spaniard under pressure. Garcia leads the way. Gale second, Burke third. Then it is Aria. Fifth place for Yamchan. Yu, Setyavon, Imjapanya. Side by side, they both got him. They both got past Garcia. Fantastic work as both Birol find the gap to get past the Spaniard. And now they can assist each other. Wow, this is dramatic stuff. And it's Kai Burke who's in the lead. So I wonder if Gale's move on Garcia just kicked them out wide, and that was enough for Kai Burke to sweep in and take the lead. So hopefully we'll get a replay of that, because there was a little bit of a headache on the way through on that first corner. So maybe we'll get to see what happened again. But certainly for Toby Gale, the move on Aaron Garcia was meant to be a little bit easier than that. But instead, he's ended up falling behind his teammate. So Toby Gale was going for the lead. He's got ahead of Garcia, but he's still not made it to the lead because Kai Burke got past them both. And so as they work their way onto the next lap, Nathan Aria running P4 in front of Yamchan in P5. Then Yu, Setyavon, Imjapanya, Chen, Nishimura, George, G, and then in 13th place, that is one of the new talents in the field. That's the 236, Kantapat Narin Suksanti. Hairpin turn. Aaron Garcia not giving up yet at all. Third position behind this pair of Birol. And after taking one win, he knows it's going to be difficult to hold on to it this time. But certainly, both Burke and Gale are putting up quite the fight. So with the Birol 1 and 2, under the careful tutelage of Michael Patrizzi, motorsport aficionado, of course, from Australia, former supercars racer back in the day, and certainly the godfather of red and white in Asia. Certainly looking good for Kai Burke and Toby Gale, but here's a retaliation from Garcia. He goes deep into the turn, but he's run wide on the exit. Toby Gale's going to get back on the inside. Garcia's trying to go long, and they're still side by side all the way through the hairpin. He's made it stick. Aaron Garcia really stretching Toby Gale there on the limit through the hairpin. It was so difficult to hold on to. Both men were millimeters from each other's wheel bearings, and that was fantastic wheel-to-wheel stuff. Garcia getting through, Gale held up, and Kai Burke is giving leave to disappear. So the two men that won the earlier two heats are now first and second. But it's Kai Burke who's got the dominant streak here. It took Garcia a little bit too long to get the move there on Toby Gale. And so Kai Burke is leading. Garcia second. Gale is third. And then in fourth place, it is Nathan Aria from Wadapong Yamchan, Dominic Setyavon, and Yuka Po. So Kai Burke leads the way. Very good work indeed from the Australian, who's doing a grand job out front. And in second place, the Spaniard, Aaron Garcia. Lovely work from him at the moment, having fought his way back past Toby Gale. Nathan Aria, what a debut in Senior X30 the Indonesian is having on the Kart Republic. He's now trying to take on Toby Gale. They were forced to step up to Senior X30 after an uncompetitive season opener in Junior. And Nathan Aria, they decided, right, well, we may as well give it a try in Senior. We might see what happens. He had a growth spurt over the last couple of weeks, which meant he was going to be completely uncompetitive in Junior. So he stepped up to Senior, and here he is in P4. What a great debut from Nathan Aria in the Senior category. And this is great progress too from Putter, Wadapong Yamchan, P5 at the moment for the top one squad. That's definitely looking likely to be his best result in the INFINITY IAME Series Asia in Senior X30. Dominic Setyavon, he'll be disappointed with this. Sixth position, he could easily have gone for the top three here, but he just got squeezed wide at the first couple of corners at the snail shell. And fourth position has turned into P6, but the kart is still going strong. Yuka Po is under danger here of being caught and passed by Nadalimjit Panya. So Nadalimjit Panya is really rising to the occasion. Good to see. Ninth place, Sutamo Nishimura. Great work from the 55-year-old. How on earth is he still this competitive against drivers 25 years his senior? 35 years, I should say. His junior, in fact, is what I was meant to say. 10th position for Danish Chen. Then Thomas George, Jedi Chi. And then we've got Kantabat Narun Suksanti in 13th place in front of Mika Slabber, who's got it done again, working his way through the pack. Great work from the Malaysian. 15th, that is the very talented new Thai driver in the field, Pakin Jananukul. So Jananukul has got Jenny Bibinet behind. Then it is Panya. So Papichaya Yamchan making her senior debut, having spent the last half year or so in the Junior X30 category. Then Xiao Zhuan and Jamie Ambrose not starting again. So out through the hairpin. Good display from Kai Burke. But now that Garcia has been released, he is catching Kai Burke hand over fist. The problem is, I don't think he's going to have the time to really take him on for the victory. That gap that Kai Burke built up has been very strong indeed. And I just don't see that elevating back in his favor again. So the gap is 0.8 of a second, almost a second. And Kai Burke seems to have the measure when he's got clear track in front of him. So they come across, yeah, if anything, Burke is pulling away from Garcia, not allowing the Spaniard to catch him. So it looks to me as though this is going to be a very favourable run. And so at the moment, Kai Burke definitely has the measure of the Spaniard in the lead. Third position, Toby Gale. Fourth place, Nathan Arya. And then in fifth place, we've got Wadapong Yamchan in front of Dominic Setiavon. Everybody else is keeping it neat and tidy. This is the thing, you can't afford to push too hard. When we've got more drivers in Senior X30 than usual, that means that because we've got two groups, we have to separate them into 3 heats, not 2. So they're working the tyres even harder than they normally would be in a field of 36. Most of the races we've done, the drivers have had 2 qualifying heats. Well, this time, now that we've got 38 drivers in the field, we've got 3. And that means they're working their tyres so much harder. So they've got to look after them more, particularly at this stage of the weekend, when there's still a third heat to come later this afternoon, but they can't afford to exert themselves too hard. They've got to be measured. Patience is a virtue. If you want to get to the final, you've got to make sure you look after these tyres. So for Kai Burke, he is working hard because Aaron Garcia is now starting to step up the attack. The gap has come down to 0.7 of a second. If Garcia can get within 0.4, that's going to be enough on the main straight. Then the straight between turn 1 and the snail shell, just in the toe alone, because he knows he's got good top-end pace, but he's got to get close enough to really take advantage of the toe. So he's got to find another 0.3 of a second. As they come across the line this time, the gap is 0.7 again. So Burke has responded, 2 laps to go. I think Garcia's just going to run out of time, but it sets things up neatly for Heat 3. So still, Garcia proves that there's life in the Kart Republic yet. Still plenty to do this weekend. Do not think for a moment that Kai Burke winning 2 races means he's got this on a silver plate. Anything but. He knows for a fact that he's going to be really stretched to the limits this week. He's going to have a lot of hard work ahead of him. Third place for Gale. He is in no man's land, Toby Gale, because the guys behind him have dropped back and they're starting to cause issues for each other. But he can't quite match the pace of Garcia. Either that or he's just choosing not to. Third place is still a very strong position to be in. So he can take his time. He doesn't have to rush this. Still got plenty of time to make up the numbers. Yuka Po is now running through in P7 behind Arya, Yamchan and Setiavon. So it turns out then that with an Explorer or a Kart Republic, he's struggling because everybody's caught up on pace. But Kai Burke is on the final lap. The gap is down to 0.5 of a second between Burke and Garcia. 2 more laps. And maybe Garcia might have got close enough to challenge the Australian. But certainly it looks to me as though Aaron Garcia is not quite going to get close enough to the man from Bundaberg in Queensland. He comes through on the back straight and having done a very favourable job indeed. Kai Burke has not broken a sweat out of the final turn. Check it is in the air. It's 2 out of 2 for Kai Burke. Aaron Garcia second and third for Toby Gale. A great effort from Nathan Arya in his second ever Senior X30 race. Top 5, very strong indeed. And there's even more where that came from. Expect more over the course of the weekend. So Garcia's taken a win and now Kai Burke has taken 2. We're going to get a new winner in the next heat, whatever happens. So it's definitely going to be an exciting one, as Andrea Galimberti is going to go head-to-head with Dylan Tan on the front row of the starting grid for the next heat. But certainly, the leader at the interim after 2 competitive heats is going to be Kai Burke. He will take effectively a 0 score. It's like golf. It's reverse points. You get 0 for a win, 2 for second, 3 for third, 4 for fourth, and so on. But these are not championship points, I should point out. These are just heat points to assess what the order is going to be. You don't score any championship points until tomorrow. You score 10 for winning the pre-final and then 25 for winning the final. And it's the top 15 that score points in the final in a point system that matches the MotoGP final race. 25 points. So it's time to find a new race winner here today, because we've already had 2 wins for Kai Burke and 1 for Aaron Garcia, and neither of those drivers are going to be racing in Group A versus D. So whatever happens, we've got a new race winner coming. But who's it going to be? Andrea Galimberti and Dylan Tan on the front row of the grid for this one. Leonardo Mori next up in the mix alongside the hard-charging 229, Sidiket Sedamon Kolkasem. Then we've got the 202 next up, 5th on the grid for Banu Steenmunkong, alongside Travis Teo, then Kian Shah, Jaden Pope, Didi Tse, and Rafael Kamal. Then next up it is Tanapob Wadakat Supachok, alongside Conrad Garrow. Next up, 13th on the grid for One Lap Ratanajan, alongside Scott David Greenfield. And then the last 5 drivers, I should say, in the mix. We've got Johanathan Mosh for Simon, 15th on the grid alongside Melvin Shane, then Zachary Boyce, Paco Miguel Samiento, And at the back end of the field, it is young Aidan Forbes. So interestingly, in this race, we've got the two youngest men in the entire Senior X30 field, starting first and 19th of these 19 carts. Aidan Forbes still learning the craft of Senior X30, but then of course you could say that about Andrea Galimberti. Youngest man in the field, won't turn 14 until June. But of course, because he turns 14 in this calendar year, he is allowed to step up into the world of Senior X30. So wins for Kai Burke and Aaron Garcia. Who will be the third driver to take a win? We're about to find out. For Andrea Galimberti, he's got to be the favourite, of course, from the inside. Dylan Tan beside him, then Mori, Sidamon Kolkasem, Steenman Kong, Teo, Shah, Pope, Sir and Kamal. They'll come out of the final turn, charge down the main straight. Who is going to get the best jump of it? Oh, well, it's a jump start. It's because the leaders went on the throttle too early, so the lights did not go out. So that's a false start and certainly not the best way to go about things. And that's going to make Andrea Galimberti's task a little bit hard into a relatively straightforward battle for the victory. He certainly didn't have one of those in the first race because the chain guard came loose. So hopefully things will go much better for him in this second race, but he's going to leave it very late indeed for them to get back there. He's left it very late indeed. So Andrea Galimberti taking a long time to slow down, and as a result, oh goodness me, everybody having to slam on the brakes to avoid hitting the front. So Galimberti really taking his sweet time to slow the field down. Are we going to go racing this time? Yes, we do. So Galimberti kickstarts his charge into the first turn. Dylan Tan trying to go with him there in second place. He manages to hold on to the position. Mori through in third. So good for the moment as Galimberti sweeps through in the lead. The top one, Kart Republic, holding the doors. Oh, a bit of a contact early up further back. That was one of the top ones going sideways in the air. That was Rafael Kamal, I think. He managed to land it on all four wheels, but that will certainly compromise him. That is the lead he's built up halfway round lap one. He is determined to win this one. Andrea Galimberti is just a rocket ship out front as Dylan Tan is left to duel with Mori and Sidamon Kolkasem. So Sidamon Kolkasem is now going to be trying to get his way into the top three. Galimberti is 0.7 of a second, nearly 0.8 of a second out in front after one lap. Goodness me, he wants this, doesn't he? So Galimberti, Tan, Mori and Sidamon Kolkasem. So Sidamon Kolkasem in front of Teo. Then it is Steenman Kong in front of Jaden Pope, Didi Tsir, Kian Shah and Rafael Kamal. So second place is going to be fairly evenly matched here, I think, between Tan, Mori and Sidamon Kolkasem. All three of them really want to make a good work of it, but they're all going to find it pretty tough to compete against each other. Is it settled, is it? But Tan has certainly picked up a little bit more pace than he had earlier on, and he's certainly not as big an issue to the other drivers. 2 laps completed, and the gap is up to 0.9 of a second. Dylan Tan really is doing the best he can to close up, but Leonardo Mori looks like he's going to be more of a threat than Andrea Galimberti is. Out through the snail shell. And Leonardo Mori really trying to get clear of Sidamon Kolkasem. The CRG looking for a bit to get by. So Sidamon Kolkasem doing a grand job in 4th place here behind Mori. So the Malaysian, Leonardo Mori. Oh, behind, that was a lovely move from Jaden Pope. So Jaden Pope swept in on Travis Teo, and that's good enough for 5th position for the Australian. So Jaden Pope works his way up into P5. That'll be very good news indeed for him. Then we've got some big challenges further back as well, because we've got Didi Tsir on the DAP chassis and Rafael Kamal on the Kart Republic chassis, 10th position. When we say DAP chassis, of course, we do mean Kart Republic. It's just one of the brands within the Kart Republic family. But some drivers prefer the aesthetic look that the DAP gives, particularly with the vintage name. DAP, of course, giving us plenty of great karting stars of the past, including, of course, the late, great Ayrton Senna. So Galimberti stretching away from Dylan Tan. This is a masterclass from the Italian, who absolutely leaving no doubt in the minds of anybody how fast he is going to be and how fast everyone else is going to need to be if they want to beat the Italian stallion today. Dylan Tan second. Here's another good move. This is going to be Jaden Pope onto the Monkukasem. He's got him. Lovely racecraft from Jaden Pope today. And it's great to see the Australian really living it up for the Top 1 Motorsport team. So there is Leonardo Mori, now under pressure from the Australian. Now, Dylan Tan, I have to say, much better in Heat 2 than in Heat 1. He has not lost his way. He's picked up the rhythm. Although he's not able to stay with Galimberti, he's certainly the measure, if not the better man, between him and Leonardo Mori at the moment when it comes to maintaining tyres. He's not sliding around a lot. So that also really helps at this battle. Mori. Pope's going to get down the inside line, and that'll do. That's Jaden Pope into third place. Good overtake from the Aussie. He's got a lot of time to make up on Dylan Tan, but Jaden Pope has the tenacity and the determination and the perseverance to make that work. So it's certainly going full guns blazing for Jaden Pope now that he's into third position. Then Mori, Sedamon Kukasem and Travis Teo. Didit Sir's having a great race. P7 for Didit Sir. She can be very happy indeed with that. And certainly the 16-year-old from Pattaya is doing a grand job. 7th place. 8th position for Panush Tinmankong, who's not having as smooth a race as earlier on. Then 9th position for Kian Shah in front of Rafael Kamal. And then it is Tanapa Barakat Superchok as the field battles on. And now Didit Sir puts in her best lap, a 51.068. Dylan Tan, by the way, has just been in his best lap, a 50.96. So there's definitely still potential in these karts. You've got to remember that the drivers are not going to be clocking 49s because they're looking after their tyres. You've got to be fast but also smooth. You'll only get 49s in qualifying. So everybody just trying to stay in command. But a 50.965. Very strong work at the moment from Dylan Tan. His fastest lap of the race. I'm fairly sure the fastest lap of the race comes from Andrea Galimberti, who's just done a 50.69. A 50.61, I should say. Very fast, and 2.6 seconds now clear of Dylan Tan. If there was ever a response from Galimberti as to how to not do race 1 again, well, Heat 2, it couldn't be more different. It's absolutely blitzed the field. That frustration and that anger, I'm sure he's been able to channel into a very healthy fight back. Very good work. So as the battle rages on, it's Andrea Galimberti jogging away from the field, a country mile clear of Dylan Tan and Jaden Pope. Leonardo Mori, P4, 5th place for Kukasem. But Andrea Galimberti goes on to lap number 9. 5 laps to go, and the gap is now 2.9 seconds. Wow, no doubt at all as to who's going to be going for the victory over the course of the rest of the weekend. Of course, that earlier disqualification is definitely going to count against Galimberti, but that doesn't mean he's out by any stretch at all. He's going to have lots more opportunities to fight back, and certainly keeping himself in the mix could be very prosperous. So as the juniors get ready to get their race underway, the cadets are also heading over to Parc Fermé to get themselves ready. I think the team here are doing a fantastic job to get us back on schedule. I think we're only about 5 minutes behind now. So Andrea Galimberti comes through to complete lap 9, 4 laps to go, and the gap is now over 3 seconds. What a performance from the man from Lake Garda, Desenzano in Italy, based now, of course, in Chengdu, the city that hosted the World Games last year. And so sport is very much a prominent feature in Andrea Galimberti's mould, whether he's on the racetrack or watching the sports out of his own bedroom window. Fabulous stuff for the Italian. And he is doing a grand job here. 3.3 seconds clear. And looking forward to seeing what happens next in this twist and turn weekend. Look, count the seconds back as Dylan Tan and Jayden Pope get back into view. But this is all about Jayden Pope now. He could make this a top 1-1-2 here, as Jayden Pope is really putting Tan under pressure. It's taken him a while to get up to where he is, but now that he's there, he's certainly not going to be hanging around. He wants to go for second place. So can Jayden Pope work his way through past Dylan Tan? I think he's got to catch him unawares. He's right behind him. That's exactly how he's going to do it. Jayden Pope in the snail shell. Boom! Fabulous job from the Australian. On lap 11, Dylan Tan completely unaware that Jayden was going to make the big slide up the inside line. And that's a 1-2 for top one. Joys for the Australian. That's how to get it done. Neat and tidy as you like. And now he's got to try and get away from Dylan Tan. The thing is, the Kart Republic, they are both on the same chassis, so we know that that combination has got good pace. But Dylan Tan is struggling. You can see he's actually having to make adjustments there to keep himself cool, or keep the kart cool, I should say. But now there's big pressure from behind him, because now he's got Siddharth Sanamonkukasem, the 15-year-old from here in Thailand. He wants to take on Dylan Tan, and Tan is starting to struggle for tyre life again. It's amazing how these sets of tyres go through phases, and of course you've got to use them multiple times through the weekend before you put the fresh ones on for the final. Some, of course, will use a half set to kind of give you a little bit of time on one side of the kart. But certainly for Andrea Galimberti, that's not even on his mind right now. He'll think about tyre strategies later. For now, he goes into the final lap with over 3 seconds on his teammate, Jayden Pope. And sadly, there's not time for Didi Tsert to work her way through to third position to make it a 1-2-3 clean sweep. But they've certainly put on a great show all the way through this pack in Senior X30. And we are going to get a third different race winner from these 4 senior races. But as soon as we went through the first corner, it was very clear who that driver was going to be. The man who got the time absolutely sweet as a perfect nut in pole position. Now he's going to come through for the victory. Andrea Galimberti, that is the way you do it. Fabulous. Second for Jayden Pope, third for Dylan Tan, and fourth for Siddharth Sanamonkukasem. And so there we have it thus far. 3 big contenders for the victory from 3 different teams. Kai Burke for Birolart Asia, Aaron Garcia for LOR Racing, and Andrea Sport. 3 big contenders for the victory in Senior X30 this weekend. Goodness knows which one of them is going to get the job done. But certainly an amazing start to the weekend, whichever way you slice it. And certainly Senior X30 is going to be very competitive from the outset. out of 2 starts, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be his barn dance. There's still plenty more to come. In the junior category, though, that's the competition that will be next out onto the circuit. It's been just as competitive, certainly between 2 men. The battle is going to be raging once again. Thanawara Vejabuti versus Mason Kwong. That was certainly the form book in Junior X30 Heat 1. The 1-minute board goes up, and it's going to be like that all over again. So after the Senior X30 trio have put on great shows, Aaron Garcia, Kai Burke and Andrea Galimberti, the kings of the circuit so far, now we're going to get to see what happens next in Junior X30. In race 1, it was all about Dave Vejabuti, and he got the job done in fine style after a great challenge from Mason Kwong. So let's see what happens this time. Can the Sodi cart stay in front? It's the same starting lineup as earlier in Junior X30. Thanawara Vejabuti in first position after his brilliant pole position lap. And then Kintunatapat Bionarakelin in second. Mason Kwong is in third place ahead of the 171 Pun Suksum Songchai. And then we've got Chris Kasemsuk in front of Mr. Posh Kongchol. Sanjana Dandu has a great chance from 7th on the grid again. Let's see if she can work her way through the order. 185, Papazathon Sadababanlang in 8th on the grid. Then it is Kevin Subhavanichanon and Hobart Yao in the top 10. Then it is Knox Black, 11th position for the Australian alongside the Korean Park Do-yul. And then we've got 155, Karsten Chong. What a difference 2 months makes, eh? Very dominant in the early part of LYL and now struggling to make the top 10. 13th position for him. Siddhapash Ketsuwan, 14th on the grid. Then it is Santok Singh alongside Puttabong Wongna Pachan. 17th for the 110, Akil Rungta. He's alongside the hard-charging Wacharit Chaiprasit. And then we've got Sahil Singh, Juddy Rowland, Jackson Gate, and the new boy, Helmi Husnimarus. And then we have Xavier Fabrizio Santoso along with Aditya Pratap. And bringing up the rear, it is Lennon Barchi of Sri Lanka. So we'll see how everybody is going to handle the situation from the outset. But certainly a very exciting battle is in the offing. And all of the fans across the IAME Asia paddock, from Bangkok in Thailand all the way to Haraspara in Dodandua in Sri Lanka, will be keeping an eye on all of their favourite drivers, all 25 of them from across the region and even further afield. Let's see what our contenders will be able to give us this time. Certainly, excitement. There's no 2 words about that. So it's up to Vejabuti and Bunyaratkalin to back up the pack on the front row. Oh, goodness me. Lennon Barchi very nearly losing it, trying to catch up to the rest of the field. It's so difficult when you've got to try and catch up to the field. Coming off the final turn, and there is no start. False start. So yet again, Thanawara Vejabuti and Kitanuntapat Bunyaratkalin not getting the start quite right. Now, they did this the first time round. And of course, the regulation has changed slightly for 2026 in that back in the past, it used to be within the power of the race director. If there were too many false starts, he could have swayed the front of the grid to put them to the back. But that rule has since been deleted, so that's not possible anymore. But it can certainly come with penalties, and there is a potential if the drivers are given 2 or 3 jump starts, they could come away with a warning flag. And of course, in this paddock, the warning flag comes with a mandatory 5-second penalty. So you definitely don't want that. It's very difficult to get a warning flag before the race starts, but that is a slam dunk surefire way of making sure it happens. It is not the case this time. Thanawara Vejabuti and Kitunatapat Bunyaratkalin will get away one more time at least. Then it'll be Mason Kwong along with Pun Sukum Sumchai. So we'll see if we're going to get a strong start to Junior X30 this time. And will it be a chance for Thanawara Vejabuti to continue? It's on with Mason Kwong, yet again coming through in a second position. Great start for the man from Hong Kong. He already sweeps through, and through with them is the 171. That is I believe that is Pun Suksum Serchai to move through into third position as the juniors squabble for every bit of gap they can find. And it looks as though they've got through without incident. So Mason Kwong is already trying to take on Vejabuti through the hairpin, already trying to battle away with him as they go on the far side. So Kwong is really putting pressure on Tanawadet Vijabuti, and Vijabuti's defending nice and early. Mason Kwong's going to try and slingshot him. He's going to put Sodi Kart driver Tanawadet Vijabuti on the back foot nice and early, and here comes Sukham Surchai. So Sukham Songchai really wants to go for this, and if he keeps getting distracted by Mason Kwong, there's a chance he could lose the lead and second. Here comes the slingshot from Sukham Surchai. Mason Kwong chops across him. He's not going to focus on that too hard. He needs to keep an eye on Vijabuti. And there's a slam dunk move from behind. That's Bunyan Ratkilin getting through on Posh Kongchol. But Kongchol defends valiantly and comes back at him. But he is going to lose that fourth place. So Bunyan Ratkilin now leads the charge behind the top three. So Vijabuti, Kwong, Sukham Surchai. Very tricky stuff going on at the moment. And so the battles continue to rage. But certainly at the front, it's going to be as unpredictable as ever as Mason Kwong finishes the job round the outside and manages to get the overtaking move. Mason Kwong leads the race. He has got through, and the man from Hong Kong now takes over in the lead here at Bira. Little bit of a trip up on the curbs almost. He just let the back end slide a little. He's got to be so careful on the exit here. Keep it tidy, keep it planted. Don't get too het up. But this is a great run from Mason Kwong. He leads, a little bit of a slide in front of Tanawadet Vijabuti, but he's got a kart length. And that should be enough to be relatively straightforward for the most for Bun Sukham Surchai. As Mason Kwong keeps his nerve in the lead for the moment. But we've seen this all before in Junior X30. They've already shown us a few interesting tricks of the trade. So what more can they show us? Off the turn, Kwong is your leader. Dave Vijabuti, second place. And the fastest lap of the race comes from Bun Sukham Surchai. So Sukham Surchai going well here in third position. Is there going to be another big move? Not when Mason Kwong's in town. He's going to hold that inside line. He's effectively got the super glue out and bolted his kart to the inside white line on every apex. So it's definitely going very strong at the moment. All of the competitors running a very solid race here. So at the moment, all looking very neat and tidy, but here comes another challenge from Tanawadet Vijabuti. He knows he's going to have to go for it soon because Sukham Surchai is the fastest man on track, and he's right behind the Sodi Kart. Mason Kwong defends. That's going to back him up into the top one Kart Republic if he's not careful. They come through the hairpin, very tight together. But so far, Mason Kwong's held on. Now, what can Sukham Surchai do to get on terms with Vijabuti? And watch out, guys, because Bunyan Ratkilin's coming back at him. This could be all four of them squabbling for the win. Mason Kwong parks the bus and puts the DRM parallel on the inside of the apex of the radius through the snail shell. Sukham Surchai needs to worry about Bunyan Ratkilin. Bunyan Ratkilin now in fourth place. And he's trying to work his way forward. So Bunyan Ratkilin definitely hungry for a move now on Sukham Surchai. Well, what about Vijabuti? Vijabuti again trying to challenge Mason Kwong. But Kwong is looking so much stronger in Heat 2 than he did in Heat 1. He seems to have a little bit more potential in this kart. He can take the tyres a little further in this time than he was able to in the Heat 1. So still Mason Kwong delivering here. Still good battles all the way. Not easy to decipher who's going to have the benefit. But it's certainly looking very tasty for Mason Kwong. He leads here in fine style. Very good work at the moment. Still very tricky, but Tanawadet Vijabuti is going to have some pressure again from Bun Sukham Surchai. If the 13-year-old from Thailand has anything to go by on the top one, Kart Republic in third place, then Dave Vijabuti is going to have to be very focused. Mason Kwong is the youngest of these three, of course. Dave Vijabuti, second place, 12 years of age on the Sodi kart. And then Bun Sukham Surchai for the top one Kart Republic in third, 13 years of age. Well, Mason Kwong is only 11. He won't turn 12 until later this year. So he's going to have to work very hard indeed against these older drivers. That's what's always very exciting about Junior X30. Everyone's at a slightly different stage of their development or their journey, and yet they're pitched against each other. 11 to 14 years of age, the Junior X30 drivers. just starting secondary school. And these guys really getting the hang of things up at the sharp end of the field. But there's still a lot of tenacity, still a lot of exuberance, energy, enthusiasm, charisma. And these guys want to take it to the ragged edge. So it's far from done yet. Still plenty more challenges to come from both Vejabuti and Sukhum Songchai before this race is done. So we're going to see what happens next. Some more good battles into the first turn. Kwong a little bit wide, but there's not enough of a gap left open. And now then Vejabuti may get his opportunity. Up to the hairpin. Oh, careful. Mason Kwong starting to make that cart as wide as a Buick. Needing to as well, because he's got big pressure. The Sodi cart is vanquishable from the man behind as well. And these four holding each other up has actually brought the other two into the mix. We've got Chris Kasemsup and Poshkong Chol in there now as well. So Chris Kasemsup and Poshkong Chol. No, wait, it's not Poshkong Chol. That's one of the Birilarts involved. That is Hobart Yao, I think. So what's happened to Poshkong Chol? Oh, he's dropped quite a long way back, actually. He's now in the clutches of the 165 of Hobart Yao. So it's actually Papasathon Silaba Banlang and Chris Kasemsup who are in 5th and 6th. So Silaba Banlang and Kasemsup are now behind the top four. But Vejabuti not able to be as strong as he was. Mason Kwong looking good to try and take the second heat win. And in junior and cadet and master, you only get 2 heats, don't forget. Silaba Banlang closing up now. Here's the move for 3rd position. Bunyan Rakalin is really trying to go at it between him and Sukhum Songchai. They're going to hold each other up. And that's opened the gap between 2nd and 3rd place. But there's still pressure. Here comes Silaba Banlang. Kasemsup's going to dive up the inside. And Chris Kasemsup and Silaba Banlang going wheel to wheel in the Birilarts. They duel for 5th position. And as they come across the line, it is Kwong leading Vejabuti. Then Sukhum Songchai hanging on from Bunyan Rakalin, Kasemsup and Silaba Banlang. Bit of a gap back now to 7th place Kong Chol, who's there with Yao, Black and Dandu. Here's the move from Vejabuti. Oh, it's absolutely sweet in the snail shell. He took his time about it. And now Mason Kwong's going to try and retaliate out through the banking. Vejabuti's now going to be in high defense mode. Kwong's going to be in high offense mode. But they've held each other up. And here comes Sukhum Songchai. He wants to get into 2nd position himself. They come off the turn. And Kwong is nudging, pushing Vejabuti. Big opened up gap on the inside. Kwong is going to get hung out to dry. Down to 4th position. Through comes Sukhum Songchai to 2nd and Bunyan Rakalin to 3rd. Now they could take on Vejabuti. Kwong has absolutely messed it up. And he knows it. Here comes Sukhum Songchai. He's going to take on Vejabuti. The momentum is now going to be with Bunyan Rakalin and Kwong. Kwong's going to get parallel for 3rd. Big tank slapper. As now Sukhum Songchai is trying to power slide it round the outside on the marbles. Oh, this is problematic now. He's going to run wide and Bunyan Rakalin is going to take 2nd. Amazing racing. And we've still got 2.5 laps. Kwong's now going to dive in for 3rd. He gets the move on Sukhum Songchai. And that could be enough for Kasemsup and Sibabaneng. So now it's up to Bunyan Rakalin. Can he go after Tanawara at Vejabuti? What an amazing duel we have in Junior X30. Today is absolutely on song. Vejabuti leads. Bunyan Rakalin 2nd. Kwong 3rd. Now if Kwong can do something spectacular in this penultimate lap, he's still got a seat at the table. 3rd position. He can take on Bunyan Rakalin again. Big speed all the way up to the snail shell. But he really needed the move to come. Bunyan Rakalin's going to take on Vejabuti. Kwong needs to stay present in 3rd, along with the 3 men behind him. Sukhum Songchai, Kasemsup and Silaba Banlang. There could still be a top 3 finish for any one of those 3 drivers. So Bunyan Rakalin hustling. Vejabuti in the lead. So what can the Sodi cart do to keep these guys at bay? Kwong is trying to keep close while also taking Sukhum Songchai along for the ride. He could be useful as long as he doesn't turn rogue. Here we go, last lap. Let's decide this 2nd heat of the day as Kwong has a fancy on the inside line of Bunyan Rakalin. but he's not close enough. You've got to stay off those curbs. It's going to get loose and going to get very scary indeed there. So there could still be a chance on Vijabuti. He's going to be ultra defensive, don't forget. So if the drivers behind him can be a little bit more tactical, a little bit more of an open mindset, there could still be a steal. Vijabuti knows he's far enough ahead of Bunyarakinen for the moment, but he's only got about 4 corners left. In through the hairpin, the Sodi kart stays prominent. Bunyarakinen knows he's got a chance, and the Sodi kart knows he's coming. So he's going to hold his nerve to the inside line. Will Bunyarakinen even get a chance? He may not quite get close enough. Final turn. He's going to run out of chances. He'll have to settle for second. It's going to be Vijabuti all the way. Fantastic. And yet again, the top 5 drivers across the finish line are covered by less than a second. Bunyarakinen, big opportunistic move to get into second. Ahead of Kwong, Sukham Songchai, Kasemsup and Silibabanleng. And in 7th behind them all, it is Knox Black who worked his way forwards in a 7th place. Hobart Yao 8th from Poshkong Chol, and Sanjana Dandu coming home in the top 10. So a very good, exciting start to the day then. Start to the weekend, I should say, in Junior X30, because that is Junior X30 done for Saturday. So they can certainly go back to the awnings now and focus on their objectives for tomorrow. But juniors are all wrapped up for Saturday. And a very exciting battle it is set to be for them over the course of tomorrow as well, because they've got the pre-final and the final still to come. And even though it's been 2 out of 2 for Tana So we get to the battle for the second time in the cadets and the cadet rookies. Of course, it's IAME Series Asia, but it's also IAME Series Thailand at the same time. Multiple trophies to hand out over the course of the weekend, and certainly great battles still to come. But we can expect some very tough racing from the drivers at this stage of the competition. And certainly there is a lot more still coming. We've already had victories for Tanawadat Vejabuti twice in Junior X30. Can it be a double for his younger brother? Chinapat Vejabuti is rather hoping so. But what can Nutsarongwong Rastanakul do from that front row of the grid? She's clearly got one lap pace because she's been able to put herself into a very strong position. But will it continue in the Cadet X30 run? So it's certainly going to be intense from the outset. And may I say, a hearty congratulations to the organisers who, despite the 10-minute delay earlier on for transitioning across the grid, have now got us back on track to just 1 minute behind the original timetable. That's amazing. Well done to all the organisers. So Chinapat Vejabuti and Nutsarongwong Rastanakul on the front row of the grid, Libby Lewis Kanan and Max Schilling on the second, Shabal Basalama and Kaylin Delcy, Aaron Akil and Jaden Arya, Pimpat INF1NITY and Cruz Priolo, then Carson Choi and Mohamed Farwibawo, Arutan Prabhu and Saharat Laprasepakon. Then it is Palat Tanjanpong alongside George Patrizi. And then we've got Tuta Minset and Darren Artagani. Sriatapat Tirapatara Bawong is alongside the 89. That is Sidavit Sriatanakul. So outside the top 20, still plenty of talent. Michaela Draper is alongside the 21, Natawat Puramard. Then Tanta Jivasakunkrai and Chotanin Yakatarat. 77 next up, that's Achira Pienpuk alongside the 15 of Mohamed Falik Fariz. And then we have the 46, the other female in the field, Natapon Chairungrang, alongside the 12 of Tanapat Padrazri. 29th on the grid, the 67, that is Taimis Ritrai. And then finishing up Semsup, 90 is Chayat Limratanakan. 32 is next up, that is Ari Aturiavichita. And then we have 33rd on the grid, Joshua Tan. 34th on the grid is Tuspakon Timtong, and then we have the 27 next up, Morgan Alindo Sunmoai. The last driver on the grid is young Xavier Carr. So with all of the contenders now neatly in position, it's definitely going to be an exciting start on the grid. All of the drivers getting themselves into position. The oldest driver in the field is 12 years of age. That is Kaylin Delcy. So Kaylin Delcy for the Hot Wheels Racing Team, the youngest driver in the field, hasn't even turned 8 yet. That is Taimis Ratrai. And considering he will turn 8 in this calendar year, that is why he is eligible to compete at this level. As long as you turn 8 in the year you're competing, then you are legally permitted to contend. And considering that Taimis Ratrai is not last on the grid, quite far from it in fact, 29th of the 36 drivers, that shows you that the talent is good enough to be running up amongst the best in this field. So all of our contenders are neatly in the 2 tram lines. Chinapat Vejabuti and Nutsarongwong Rastanakul from Kanan, Schilling, Basalama, Delcy, Akil, Arya, INF1NITY and Priolo. Are we racing? No, we're not. False start. So yet again, drivers just a little bit too eager off the line. They've just got to be very careful. They've got to be measured. For people like Chinapat Vejabuti and Nutsarongwong Rastanakul, this is still going to be new, of course, going through this procedure. Certainly for those two, not many times shared on the front row of the grid. So they've got to make sure that they adhere to what was requested. They've obviously got to stay in position at the tram lines. And they've got to make sure they're in the correct grid positions by the red line, and they can't accelerate until the yellow line. So there's always a little bit of grace given, but to be honest, there really shouldn't be too much given. They all know the rule. They were in the driver's briefing. They heard what the race director, Martin Bean, told them. And there shouldn't be any acceleration, really, until the yellow line. 2 by 2. Keep it nice and tidy. Particularly, that is for the pace setters, Chinapat Vejabuti and Nutsarongwong Rastanakul, who's never started an INF1NITY IAME Series Asia race from the front row of the grid before this weekend. Now she gets to do it for a second time. But will she be able to get back there this weekend? That's going to be the real test. one lap. Qualifying is very different to racing. So now we've got the field spread out together. Are we going to go racing straight away? We're getting very quick out of the final turn, I have to say. But this time we're racing. And it's another strong start from Max Schilling with a little bit of support down to the first corner. He's going to split the front row drivers again and into second place once more. Max Schilling immediately taking on Vejabuti yet again. Is this going to be exactly like we saw in the earlier race? Certainly Schilling is going to attack Vejabuti. Well, this time, I think Vejabuti was prepared for Schilling, so decided this time to hold nerves. Oh, we've got yellow flags. We've got carts all over the shop, up at the hairpin. 2 or 3 carts involved in separate incidents. We've got the 6 down there. That is Oradhan Prabhu. The 28 is in there as well, I think. Oh, sorry, the 26. That's Carson Choi. And it looks like one of the CRGs has just moved away from the scene as well. So 3 or 4 drivers involved in that one, I'm afraid. So certainly at the moment, it is Vejabuti from Schilling. And in third place, is that Rangwastanakul? No, it's Delsey. What a start from Kaylin Delsey. Third position from the Hot Wheels Racers driver. So a terrific start. And so the drivers work their way through. Delsey in third place from Basalama, Arya, and Living Lewis Kennard. Then Chris Priolo, Pimpak Kuring Fatai. You've got to feel for Nutsarong Rangwastanakul. She's all the way down to 9th. And it looks as though we've got damage to a cart who's not made it round the complete first lap. So someone in trouble there. That looks to me like Chotanin Yatakaradat. So Chotanin Yatakaradat has retired from the race on the 44. That's the Top One Motorsport machine. They're just passing the scene of that cart now, actually. So Chotanin Yatakaradat is sadly watching the race from Marshall Post 6. And that's game over for him. What a shame. So Vejabuti looking for 2 out of 2. And actually, they've improved the cart since the first race. Double waved yellows. Oh, we've got a spinner in the middle of the road up at the hairpin, and that's why we're at double waved yellows. So the drivers have got to be careful. We've got a cart right in the middle of the hairpin. And there is a cart stationary. It's one of the CRGs. Sorry, no, it's one of the Sodis that's spun around there. I think that might be Xavier Carr. I'll double check, but it looks to me as though we've had one cart certainly a long way down. In fact, no, I think it might be Natapon Chororongvang, so who's had a spin there. That's unfortunate, as right down the order that particular driver goes. No, I was right the first time. It is Xavier Carr. So Xavier Carr sadly spun the 29R Sodi cart. And that means that Xavier Carr has now got to recover and work his way back up to pace. Meanwhile, the battle for second place continues. Max Schilling on the Paralin and Kaylin Delsey on the Intrepid. Big opportunity as they continue to work forward. Fourth place for Basalama, who looks over his shoulder, trying to figure out where Jaden Aria is. And then it is Libin Lewis Kanan, P6. Seventh is Chris Priolo from Wibawo, Kurang Fatai, Rangwastanakul. And then next up in the mix, it is the 8. So that is the hard-charging Chris Priolo. Svetipatara Barwong is closing in on the driver in the mix there that they are dueling away with. That is Natawat Puramurad. But so far, Schilling is just trying to shake off Kaylin Delsey at the moment. As out in front, Vejabuti is just absolutely dominating this second cadet race. But certainly for Schilling, it's not bad going in second place in front of Kaylin Delsey. Certainly championship-wise, it's still very good for Max Schilling, because a second place finish in the final tomorrow would keep his championship lead, because of course the man in front of them is Jenabat Vejabuti, who is not a point scorer in Malaysia. So Max Schilling can be happy with a P3, a top 3 finish. He's obviously got to try and maintain it at the moment, because he's got Kaylin Delsey and Shabal Basalama not far away from him. Fifth place is Jaden Aria. Good to see the Indonesian now in the top 5 consistently on pure pace. Certainly looking very comfortable indeed. And these are all the good-natured signs to continue making good progress, good steady pace. But Chinapat Vejabuti leading Max Schilling by 1.6 seconds at the moment. Schilling just taking his time. Again, you do not need to push too hard in this situation. Second place is more than good enough. You've got to bring your A game later if you want to. But certainly Schilling in front of Delsey. Delsey in front of Basalama. Basalama in front of Aria. And the top 5 well spread. But there's still good potential later in the race because you've got Aria not that far behind Basalama. And then the roll of the pitch is pretty good. It looks like there was an issue there for Ari Aduliyevicita. So problems there for Aduliyevicita. He didn't quite go according to plan. He's dropped back a bit in terms of pace. But certainly for Schilling, Delsey, Basalama and Aria, it's very unpredictable at this point. There's so much still to play for. Basalama checks over his left shoulder. Jaden Aria is right there. You can't afford to back down from the fight, but you also can't afford to give away too much. Meanwhile, out in front, it is Chinapat Vejabuti all the way. He is looking so calm and confident as he completes lap number 6. The rest of the field comes through, 2.3 seconds back. Schilling, Delsey, Basalama and Aria, and now we've got a duel brewing between Canaan and Priolo. So Cruz Priolo would dearly love to put some decent points on the board. After the strong showing at LYL, there's still a good chance of that. Never back down, never steer clear of the fight, always be there. But don't forget that even though it's a lower position than you want it to be, the lessons you learn in that battle could be very useful when you are fighting for the lead next time. Cruz Priolo hunting down Luis Canaan. The Parolin versus the Lenzo. Two very impressive Italian brands. Oh, and it looks like we got a slowing cart in front. So someone in trouble. That's one of the Sodis coming to a stop. I think that's got to be the 45 of Xavier Carr. Indeed it is. So Xavier Carr is moving aside and letting everybody go. So the field works their way past. Xavier Carr being a good sportsman there. That could have been a bit of a heart attack moment, because I thought for a moment, with it being a Sodi kart, that could have been Chinapat Vejabuti. Because of course he is in a Sodi and he is leading the race. But fortunately, the team have been very, very strong on the engineering side of the chassis. And so the DT Motorsport man stays in front. Now we've got battles brewing here for second and for fourth. Schilling knows that Kaylin Delsey is right behind him. And there's a little bit of a love tap on the back bumper. So Delsey really wants to get on with this. There's your leader. There's Chinapat Vejabuti. But a little way behind them, Delsey is going to try and put pressure on Schilling with 3 laps to go. Look back. There is the battle for second. So Schilling and Delsey having a great duel as Vejabuti leads the way. But where's the battle for second? There it is. Schilling and Delsey. Delsey's caught right up to Max Schilling. These two have fought many times before, but never has so much been at stake for either driver. Delsey wants a top 3 finish in a heat. Schilling wants to continue in the championship lead. Great battles between the two of them at the moment. And so it's going to be an interesting one, as all of the contenders in this one are going to be stretched to the limits. A fabulous chance could be coming here for the intrepid driver, Kaylin Delsey, just looking for the gap. Looks left, looks right. Can't find the move at the moment. So Delsey tries again. Schilling just trying to stretch the gap a little bit. 1 or 2 more kart lengths could keep him relatively calm and composed. But it's Cadet X30. A couple of car lengths are very difficult to find. Out of the turn comes the intrepid. Still pushing down the straight. 4th place for Sheba Basalama. Back straight. Schilling holding on. Not easy with Kaylin Delsey still snapping at the heels, especially now that there's only a lap and a half to go. Delsey didn't need to make the overtake. Now is the prime time to make it. The later in the race you can make the overtake, the less chance there is for retaliation from your opponent. So this is when Delsey will really want to go for it. Right-hander. Covers. Middle of the road thinking from Schilling. Good. No way through the left or the right. Out of the hairpin. Backdrop across the modified short layout. Checks over his shoulder. Still not close enough. Presence in the hairpin. Short stretch across to the final hairpin. And as Chinapat Vijayabuti comes through, he begins the last lap. But as for these two, it's going to be a very intense last lap. Can Max Schilling hold on from Caelan Delsey? Or is the Hot Wheels Racer star Well, I'm not sure what happened there, but we are on the final lap. For this man, Chinapat Vijayabuti is very much in control. So can he hold on to it? Caelan Delsey trying to get close to Schilling, but Schilling has been very strong in the last lap and a half. So he's been able to pull a bit more of a gap. Delsey's going to need a very brave lunge if he's going to make the move on Schilling now. Schilling's pulled about a kart length. He can defend very avidly into the hairpin. But this man doesn't need to defend at all. Chinapat Vijayabuti on the Sodi kart, looking comfortable round the final turn. It's going to be 2 from 2 for Chinapat Vijayabuti. Nice work. Second place will be Max Schilling in front of Caelan Delsey. Great start. And how about that? Saturday is all right for a Vijayabuti because both Tanawarat and Chinapat managed to get the double. Absolute fairy tale at DT Motorsport as both Tanawarat Vijayabuti and Chinapat Vijayabuti got a pair of victories each. Fabulous stuff. As second place comes Max Schilling and third place comes Caelan Delsey. What a start. What a start to proceedings in Cadet X30. Exactly what the drivers were hoping for from the DT Motorsport team. And they couldn't have asked for more. So a really exciting challenge and a really exciting battle from the outset. Certainly very exciting stuff. So the contenders will now So to the second and final qualifying heat of the Master X30. It's already been a very solid opener from Luke Armstrong. He'll certainly be wanting to make it a second. But the battle is going to be raging from the outset. There's no doubt about that one. Everyone will want to take on Luke Armstrong nice and early and go for a competitive move on the Australian. But certainly, as it stands at the moment, he remains unbeaten in the weekend, having got the fastest time in qualifying and converted that into a race win. He now has a chance to go and get it done, a second time of asking. So, Luke Armstrong leads the way. Wirasa Kamchan in second on the grid. Harith Bin Zaralo in third from Ian Willock. Then Tiru Kumaran alongside Darren Formosa. And then Tamio Ko from Peter Chua. Luke Purser and Ryan Holden completing the Master X30 field. Great to see everybody in good shape, getting ready for the start of this one. It's obviously going to be a tricky one for Luke Armstrong, even though there's not been a lot of difference between them over one lap. There's certainly been a lot between them as the pace really starts to unravel for Luke Armstrong. But there's more good racing to come. And of course, just because Luke Armstrong won earlier on does not mean he's going to win this one. Even if the pace is not quite there, there could still be some more big pressure and still more big battles to come from the others. So you cannot count your previous races as the standard bearer. There are still chances to put on more of a show. So for Luke Armstrong, he knows he's going to be under pressure right from the outset from the reigning Masters champion, Wirasa Kamchan, known to his friends as P. So Wirasa Kamchan hoping that he can get himself right back into a competitive position again to fight for this final. 2 formation laps. Luke Armstrong's got to slow the field right down, of course, now in Master X30. And of course, we're past the red line. Hang on, this is a big problem. Wow, that's a very late lineup, a very late lineup. And the drivers are getting out of position beyond the red line. Well, this is an absolutely chaotic start. Led off there by Luke Armstrong, waiting so long to back up the pack. False start. Well, I've not seen that before, but the field were not formed up at the red line at all. And they just about got themselves into position, but it was such a late form up of the grid that they've now cleared. That's been a false start. So what could happen as a result of that? That could certainly be a starting investigation. Wow, talk about drama. Normally, you're supposed to back up the pack quite considerably earlier before the red line. But the red line on this occasion was when the pace backed down. So that could be a genuine start line investigation there. And again, they're leaving it very late indeed to form up. So Luke Armstrong, this time it's not going to be a problem, but oh goodness me, that is not the kind of investigation you need coming into the start of racing. So going into the second start, this is going to be a clean one, and it's going to be a fast one too. They come off the line. Armstrong and Yamchan, are we going to go racing this time? Yes, we do. But off we go. And Yamchan blasts forward. Yamchan hits the front. Fabulous run from the tie as Wirasa Kamchan hits the start of the race and gets straight into the lead. Luke Armstrong has to give best to him in second place. And Harith Bin Zaralo is giving him big chase. And that's Darren Formosa up into fourth position. Great start by Hollywood into P4. And already rocking and rolling up to the top 3. And a big... Oh, and Darren Formosa! He clashes into the back of Harith Bin Zaralo and spins the car around. Darren Formosa gets going again. That was just out of sight of the cameras, unfortunately. But Darren Formosa clattered into the back of Harith Bin Zaralo. He just missed his braking point by about half a metre. And that was enough to clatter over the rear wheel of Harith Bin Zaralo. And that puts him to the back of the pack. Big problem for Darren Formosa. And so the race continues, but it's Yamchan who leads the way. Second Armstrong, third Zaralo. And then it is Willock, Kumaran, and Tamio Ko who leads the veterans. Then Peter Chua, Luke Purser, Ryan Holden, and Darren Formosa. So Yamchan now really has his work cut out. Luke Armstrong is going to get back up to full strength. And the second he comes to town to battle and Barney with Wedesek Yamchan, things are going to get spicy. Yamchan is going to defend. He knows that Armstrong is going to be a tough man to beat in a straight fight. Armstrong's not going to give him any resistance. So Yamchan is going to try and get a switcheroo and get parallel to him once again. Up on the curbs and fighting with him and round the outside. Gets back in position. Wedesek Yamchan wrestling to get the lead back. Brilliant racing. Wedesek Yamchan, the champion of last year from Thailand, on home soil, and he does not want to lose the lead in Master X30. He'll do anything to keep it. So Luke Armstrong is definitely going to have to tread carefully here. Wedesek Yamchan will push him to the ragged edge to get this victory, and it's only lap 3. Again, Yamchan having to cover his bases here. Armstrong is so quick in a straight line. This is going to be a big problem for Wedesek Yamchan long term. Surely Armstrong's not going to want to sit behind him that much longer. Big dive, slam dunk on the inside again. Yamchan, oh, contact from Harith Bin They pitch each other around. There's nowhere for the others to go. And Wedesek Yamchan and Harith Bin get spat out of the queue. Devastating for the reigning champion. Willock is through in a second, Kumaran is through in a third, and Armstrong has been given license to thrill up front. Oh, I really want to see that again because that was such a narrow avoid. That was a total racing incident there. I don't think you can really pin the blame on any one driver. I'm sure they're going to have different versions of what actually played out. But it's so difficult when you've got drivers so tight together. When the back end steps out, if you see a gap, you're a racing driver, you go for it. Because that might be the one chance you're going to get for the overtaking move. So I don't really blame Harith Bin for making that move at all. There was a gap, it was big enough, he went for it, but it just turned in on him at the last moment. And for poor Wedesek Yamchan and Harith Bin any chance of the victory is now well and truly gone. And that leaves Luke Armstrong to laugh all the way to the bank. Out in front, he's enjoying himself, and he's got a huge lead on Ian Willock as a result. Because, of course, not only did those two get held up, but everybody around them had to get right off the throttle to avoid contact. So there is Willock in second place, certainly looking for his best result in the Infinity IAME Series Asia paddock. He is yet to take a win. He's taken second a few times now. He's getting used to second place, but he doesn't want second place. He wants to win. So Luke Armstrong given license out front to just disappear. Tiru Kumaran, third place. Great consistency from him of late. He's had all sorts of mechanical issues in the past, so it's nice to see him fighting for a top 3 finish and looking likely to take one. Luke Purser is in P4, leading the veterans class at this phase, so good work from the Australian. He would dearly love to take the win in the veterans category. And certainly, if you keep yourself out of trouble, you've got a good chance to do that. So the JDP Lenzo leads the veterans class at the moment in 4th place. All looking good. 5th place is Peter Chua in front of Tam Yuk Ho. Then it's Darren Formosa in front of Harith Bin Ryan Holden and Wedesek Yamchan. So there's a lot of hard work to do here if you want to get back up the order. And to be honest, in a race like this, if anybody wants to catch Luke Purser, they're actually going to have to do their homework. Because Tam Yuk Ho is actually struggling to deal with Peter Chua at the moment. Never mind taking the lead away in the veterans class from Luke Purser. He's got to worry about getting ahead of Peter Chua. Chua is struggling for grip. So I think Purser just needs to keep the rhythm favourable and he'll take the win in the veterans. So Armstrong can just chill in the lead of this race. He doesn't want to push the tyres too hard. Just keep in the lead. Willock and Kumaran can do all the hard work. Purser is dancing in 4th place. This is a great run from the Lenzo driver, as Chua and Tamyako are having a great squabble over 5th place. There is your leader in the veterans, Luke Purser. Great to see him really rise to the occasion. It's been a very interesting start to his year. No experience in the Infinity IAME Series Asia paddock prior to the first round at Malaysia. And now the 45-year-old from Perth is leading the veterans category. Only just eligible for the veterans category, of course. But this is his chance to really put on a great display. Meanwhile, for 2nd place, Tam Yuk Ho in the veterans category has just muscled his way past Peter Chua. Sadly, we didn't see it on the camera, but I saw it out of the corner of my eye. And Tam Yuk Ho has wrestled his way to 2nd in the veterans class by passing Peter Chua. But they've only got 5 laps to go. So look in the background. You just caught a glimpse of it. Tam Yuk Ho now 2nd in the veterans ahead of Peter Chua. Then it's Harith bin Zaralo, who's up to 7th place, ahead of Darren Formosa. And then we're to Sekyam Chan, who's got into 9th place, ahead of Ryan Holden. So again, Tiru Kumaran just trying to keep Ian Willock honest here. The gap is 3.5 seconds, and there's certainly no pressure now on Luke Armstrong in the lead. He just needs to tick these laps down and look after the tyres. He's 3.5 seconds clear, so he's got a lot of time to play with, and certainly he can be quite measured in how he looks after the tyres. His mechanic on the sidelines for Simon Racing, just keeping him nice and honest. Just letting him know just how much work he has to do. It's not a lot. Ian Willock as Tiru Kumaran breathing down his neck. This is great from Tiru Kumaran. Great to see him with a real chance to be competitive. Putting a lot of pressure on Ian Willock. This is the toughest race battle we've got on track at the moment. And the Eugene Racing Run Tony Kart actually having to be a bit more adaptive than he'd like compared to the RL Karting Run Birilat of Tiru Kumaran. Wonderful to see these two dueling. It's consistency. That's the thing. In Master X30, it's about stamina and it's about rhythm. You've got to have both if you want a decent result. Speaking of decent results, Luke Purser is on the march for that. 4th position. And that'll be his best result in Master X30. And with it will come the veteran class win. And that's only 4 laps away now, just on the exit of the hairpin. It's so easy in these karts to lose the back end when you just get the tiniest bit of pickup running wide. So easily done. 4th position there in the background is the Lenzo JDP kart of Luke Purser, who leads veteran in 4th place. Then Tam Yuk Ho. Peter Chua is battling away on the circuit with Harith bin Zaralo. That's not what he needs right now. 8th position, Darren Formosa. 9th place, Sekyam Chan. And 10th place for Ryan Holden. So Kumaran again tries Ian Willock. He's got 2 laps. A lap and a half now, more realistically. But Luke Armstrong is 5.5 seconds clear. He is just jogging to the line now. Certainly not needing to really push. And that will set him up very nicely in terms of confidence and stamina for tomorrow, because he hasn't really had to push too hard here. Last lap for Luke Armstrong up front, and certainly looking pretty savvy in the run for the victory. But 2nd place isn't done yet. Ian Willock and Tiru Kumaran still battling away. And you know who's not far away from them? Luke Purser. He's actually been very quick in this one. After a difficult weekend in Malaysia, Luke Purser has definitely found his form. So through they come. And there is the man on top, Luke Armstrong. Ever since the little tangle between Sekyam Chan and Harith bin Zaralo, it's been his race to lose, and he's certainly not going to do that. Very good run off the final couple of corners, and he heads into tomorrow as the favourite in Master X30. Pole position and a double header of victories in the heats. Excellent work for Luke Armstrong. Look back, and Tiru Kumaran has given it everything he's got, but he can't quite take the move on Ian Willock. And there's Luke Purser, victory in veteran, 4th position. Great run for the Aussie. 5th place for Tam Yuk Ho. And then it is Peter Chua, who just hangs on from Harith bin Zaralo, Darren Formosa, and Sekyam Chan. Ryan Holden comes through for 10th, but the happiest man of them all is Luke Armstrong. Fabulous work, and 2 straight victories means it's absolute plain sailing to pole position for the pre-final of Master X30. What could be sweeter than that? So it's a very solid start to the weekend there. Kokasem giving chase. Here we go. So B versus D heads out onto the circuit. And it's certainly an opportunity for Garcia to go for win number 2. Let's see if he can actually seal the deal. It'll be a tough one, that's for sure. But Aaron Garcia really has the mentality, the composure, and the equipment to make it 2 from 2. We've got a very genuine chance, actually, with Galimberti and Burke going on the front row of the grid for the heat after this one. There's a genuine chance that we could have a pair of victories for all 3 drivers. If Garcia gets into the lead at turn 1, which is very likely from his current starting position of pole, then it could well be 3 drivers taking 2 wins each. But this is a nice problem for the drivers to have, certainly for us as spectators, because now we get 3 Senior X30 heats rather than just 2 for each driver. And that means that the tyres are worked even harder. It means that the pressure is even more intense, and the possibility and the likelihood of mistakes is even higher than usual. Aaron Garcia and Dylan Tan, Toby Gale and Sidiket Kokasem, Nathan Aria and Travis Teo, Wanapong Yamchan and Jaden Pope, Sutamon Nishimura and Rafael Kamal, then Danish Chen and Conrad Garrow. Next up is Kantapad Nerigan Suksanti, and then Scott David Greenfield. Treble 2 is next up, that's Thomas Jacob George along with Melvin Shane. then fucking Janine Cool and Paco Miguel Sarmiento. And at the back of the field, it is Charles Mozwan. So the drivers come through for the 2x2 formation, and it will be a pair of Kart Republics for the same team on the front row of the starting grid. Aaron Garcia and Dylan Tan, both 17, the Spaniard and the Singaporean for the LOR Racing team, along with their Kart Republics. But can Toby Gale or Sidiket Sudaman Kokasem on their Birilat or CRG, respectfully, break through these Kart Republics? We will find out very soon indeed as the drivers come off the final turn, and we're racing straight away. Toby Gale's got a great start, Tan's got a difficult one, and so into turn one, Gale is already going to take on Garcia as they charge up towards the snail shell for the first time. Garcia is making Toby Gale work for it. Very aggressive stance from Garcia to hold Toby Gale and pinch him as they go through. Got to remember that Aaron Garcia is 17, Toby Gale still only 15 years of age. And these two already becoming great duelers in Senior X30 this weekend. Dylan Tan, P3, and that is Sidiket Solomon Kokasem in 4th place on the CRG. Garcia covers the line to protect Toby Gale. Which way is he going to go? Left or right? He's certainly going to keep Garcia guessing. Good rhythm charge coming forward from Toby Gale. He certainly has the rhythm coming off the hairpin, charging down the main straight again. He looks over his shoulder, trying to see where Dylan Tan is to see if the Singaporean can be of assistance. He is really keeping his eye on Toby Gale, almost looking back as much as he's looking forwards here. Garcia wants to win twice. Toby Gale wants to get his first win on the board. Garcia really keeping his eye firmly fixed on that Birilat. But if you focus too much on the one man behind you, then you're going to get other drivers creeping forward. Dylan Tan fancies a crack at Gale, and that's a door left wide open for the CRG of Sidiket Sudaman Kokasem. And he's going to take it. He gets through. Oh, he doesn't manage to keep it together, unfortunately. Dylan Tan holds on to 3rd. But Sidiket Sudaman Kokasem is definitely going to be trying to get into that 3rd position slot. The rest of the Senior X30 field keeping themselves up-tempo and well measured. Garcia, Gale, Tan, Sudaman Kokasem. Then it's Nathan Arya in front of Teo and Yamchan. Jaden Pope, P8. Nishimura and Kamal finishing off the top 10. Still big opportunities to change your cards. Big race rhythm. 4th position, that's a big move forward from Sidiket. I'm trying to see who that is that's working the way forward. That looks like Nathan Arya, I think, working the way further forward. No, that's Warapong Yamchan, isn't it? How has he done that? Very impressive work. No, wait, that's Jaden Pope. Jaden Pope started the lap in 8th place, and he's going to come through in 6th position. He's made his way past his teammate, but also past Rafael Kamal. So he's been able to take on both his teammates in one fell swoop. And now they're all together on the circuit, sharing the same bit of the circuit. So Rafael Kamal, P8, in front of Travis Teo and Dadish Chen. But we've got Jaden Pope, Warapong Yamchan and Rafael Kamal, all from the same team. But it looks to me like Jaden Pope has managed to get ahead of Sidiket Sudaman. Yes, he has. He's managed to get ahead of Sidiket Sudaman Kumpachai. So Sidiket Sudaman Kokasem still battling away. That looks like Jaden Pope to me in 4th position. But I'm not entirely sure what's happening there because Jaden Pope should be coming through, registered in about P4, if that's the case, and he doesn't appear to be. So very interesting situation. I'm going to try and refresh the timing screen to see if it's updated. No, that definitely is. Jaden Pope, 4th on the road, and yet somehow P6 in the race. So I'm not quite sure what's going on there for Jaden Pope, but that's certainly not quite where he wants to be, that's for sure. He's currently 4th on the road, but registering as P6. I wonder what's happened there. Might be an error with his transponder, I imagine. So Jaden Pope, who's been working his way further forward, now finds himself just on the back of the top three. Garcia, Gale, Tan, and then Pope. There it is, now it's corrected itself. So Jaden Pope is now in fourth place in front of Siddharth Siraman-Kokasem. And then we've got Wanapong Yamchan P6 in front of Arya, Kamal, Teo, Chen. And then behind them we've got Garo in front of Kantapat Nadin Suksanti. But it's very tricky to know how much of a pace there's going to be from Toby Gale at the end of this race, because he's obviously kept himself there in second place. Garcia has held him back for quite a long time. So does Toby Gale take the bait here? Does he just keep himself measured in what is likely to end up being a third place aggregate and still have a good chance? Oh, someone's in trouble further back. Someone's in real trouble further back. Not entirely sure what happened there. I think that was Arya having a big problem. So Nathan Arya is in some trouble here. I'm not quite sure what's going on for Nathan Arya, but he's lost a lot of places and dropped all the way to 11th. So big issues for Nathan Arya. I thought for a moment maybe he was having a puncture, but certainly something is going wrong, as that's Jaden Pope in a third. He gets through past Dylan Tan. So Jaden Pope is now into third place, the Australian, working his magic to try and close up on the top two. Jaden Pope is a real wild card in this Senior X30 field this weekend, because we're talking a lot about Garcia, Galimberti and Kai Burke, but Jaden Pope is a real feather in the cap potentially. He could be a real game changer in this Senior X30 field tomorrow. And there's a genuine chance for some big things from him if all goes according to plan. 6 laps to go in this heat. Groups B versus D. And Aaron Garcia still leads the way by half a second to Toby Gale. But we're starting to get long shadows now. The circuit is not going to be anywhere near as intense and hot as it was earlier on, because the sun is starting to go back down behind the mountains. And so Garcia has a half-second advantage on Toby Gale. The big question is, how will the karts perform with this kind of shade and this kind of shadow? What's the difference going to be in grip levels? And who's going to have it better in these cooler conditions? Will it be the Birolart or will it be the Kart Republic? Certainly Toby Gale fancies a crack at this. Of course, this could all be smoke and mirrors. This could all be smoke and mirrors from Toby Gale. We could be waiting to see his big thunder power coming in tomorrow. As long as you're there to have a seat at the table in the top 5, you don't have to bring your A game until the pre-final and the final. So there could still be a few magic tricks up the sleeve. So certainly for Kart Republic, and in particular for LOR Racing, this is a very lovely day at the office, as Aaron Garcia is looking good to take his second heat win of the competition. He opened with the win in Group A versus B, and now he's looking forward to doing it in B versus D. So it could be a very interesting race battle tomorrow. If we've got 2 or 3 drivers with a pair of victories each, this could be a very exciting turn of events going into the Senior X30 finals tomorrow. 4 laps to go in this heat. 2:29. That is Siddharth Siraman-Kokasem, still trying to elevate himself yet further. Certainly so far so good, as Dylan Tan holds on to 4th position for the time being. But it's looking very strong from Tan and Siraman-Kokasem. Siraman-Kokasem looking to try and get closer to that top 3 if he can. But Dylan Tan, he gets a relatively good run over 1 lap. But over 13, it looks as though the tyres just wear a little bit too quickly to stay close to the top 3. He's there in 4th place now. But it looks as though the top 3 are looking after tyres a little better. Right, Garcia comes through, still half a second ahead of Gale. And here comes Jaden Pope. Jaden Pope is catching both of them hand over fist. So this is getting interesting now up front. We've got 4 laps to go. And Jaden Pope is still feeling like there's a race on here. He still fancies his chances. Well, for some reason, the timing screen is frozen on 4 laps to go. There's actually 3 laps to go as it went past the last time by. So again, hopefully that's going to be updated soon. So we're still going to get a very exciting duel between them as they come through. But Garcia leads Gale, Pope, Tan, and Sedamon Kokosem. Out through the final turn. And now as they come across the line, there are 2 laps to go, despite what it says on the timing screen. 2 laps on the digiboard. That's the one I'm going by, because that's the one that knows what the score really is. So sadly, your timing screen is not correct, because there are actually 2 laps to go rather than 4. But certainly no change in the order. If there is a change in the order, incidentally, and the timing screen isn't correct, I'll keep you up to date with it. But certainly it's Garcia, Gale and Pope. But Jaden Pope is the man on the move. With a lap and a half to go, he still fancies a crack at P2. And let's not forget, he's not involved in this Garcia-Gale war at all. He's an outsider for the Top 1 Motorsport team with a chance to go for it himself. So here comes Garcia, Gale and Pope. 1, 2 and 3. Last lap, the final lap board goes out. So we've got just 1 lap of the course remaining. The timing screen sadly incorrect. This is the last lap. And certainly for Aaron Garcia, it's looking good to make it 2 wins out of 3. Same as we had from Kai Burke. Same as we could have from Andrea Galimberti. Although, of course, Kai Burke could make it 3 wins out of 3 if he beats Galimberti in the last heat of the day. So as Aaron Garcia works his way through the final sector, Toby Gale and Jaden Pope are certainly close to him, but the key factor is that they're not close enough, and it's going to be the Spaniard who gets it done for the 2nd time today. Aaron Garcia very much in with a chance of winning the final tomorrow. The Spaniard has delivered. Aaron Garcia wins it. 2nd place for Toby Gale, 3rd for Jaden Pope, then Tan, Sedamon Kokosem and Wannapong Yamchan. Travis Teo 7th from Rafael Kamal, Danish Chen and Conrad Garrow. A great start to Senior X30 then for Aaron Garcia. 2 wins out of 3. Not bad, chap. Not bad. And he can certainly be very happy with the way this has played out. There's a lot that he can build upon going into tomorrow after 2 wins out of 3. So he's certainly in a good position. And certainly he can go into tomorrow with a lot of confidence. So we'll see how it all plays out. But certainly for the moment, if I was Aaron Garcia, I'd be very happy indeed. 2 wins out of 3. Right up in the sharp end. Good opportunities to come. position. If anyone's going to fight back and take this weekend by the throat, it's going to be Andrea Galimberti. So in we go then for senior heat A versus C, and the two men who have both taken at least one heat victory over the weekend will now line up on the grid alongside each other. 13 laps of the Bira circuit, Galimberti versus Burke. Bring it on. The Top One Motorsport star, reigning junior champion, reigning junior Asia final winner, stepping up to senior for 2026, and already under big pressure. Youngest man in the field, pole position in Senior X30 earlier. Disqualification from the first heat, dominant win in the second. He could make it a dominant win in the third to really put this weekend back into his hands. Kai Burke alongside him, though, has won every race he started so far. Can he make it a hat-trick? We're about to find out. So as the drivers get ready to venture out onto the circuit for the last time today, your guess is as good as mine, basically. Out we go, green flags. Let's go to battle one last time. After this race, of course, comes the pre-finals tomorrow. And that's where things get deadly serious. This is the last chance for those drivers wanting to be in a competitive position for the finals tomorrow to really put up or shut up. It's win or lose. Name of the game in Senior X30. Here's the grid. Andrea Galimberti and Kai Burke. Front row of the grid from Leonardo Mori and Dominic Setiovan. Then it is the hard-charging Banu Stinmankong alongside the reigning Senior X30 champion Yuka Po of Hong Kong. Then Kian Shah and Naralimjit Panya from Didit Sir and Jerry G. Then we've got the 235, Tanafob Warakatsupachok, alongside Panya Yamchan, doing a great job in her first Senior X30 weekend. 219 is next, that's Wanlap Ratanajan. And then it should be Jamie Ambrose, hopefully in 14th. Johanna Van Mush in 231, alongside Jenny Bibinet. Good to see her come back. Then Zachary Boyce, Mika Slabbert charging his way through the field again, and Aidan Forbes in 19th. So with all the drivers getting themselves back up to square one, it'll be fascinating to see which of the two men on the front row of the grid can deliver. Kai Burke has been unbeatable today. Andrea Galimberti has only really been beaten by himself. Let's see if today, on this third heat of the three, the Italian has what it takes. This is a tough mission for him. 13 years of age, youngest man in Senior X30, facing a third heat on these tyres. It really is tricky for someone of Andrea Galimberti's talent. It really is being stretched to its limits, but he's doing what he needs to do off the start, keeping it nice and tidy. This is a very controlled and measured start by Galimberti. And he's got Kai Burke to his left, running to the first corner. He knows what to expect, and he certainly knows what to bring to the table. So Galimberti, Burke, Mori, Setiovan. How's it going to go? Let's find out. Great start by Burke and Setiovan. They're going to push Galimberti to the limit on the far side, but he will have the inside line, Galimberti. Oh, there's contact between the Birolats. Setiovan squeezes his way past Burke, and that's put Kai Burke down the order. They keep going, but any chance Kai Burke had of getting a hat-trick are now wiped out. He's going to have to really work if he wants to win this third race. So Kai Burke is down to about 8th position from the front row, and that was unfortunately Setiovan. A very ambitious move. They tangled with each other, and there's more problems in the hairpin. More problems, more badinage, and more contact. We've got a Tony Cott going very slowly at the back trying to recover, but there could be more damage than first realised, as it's now Mori and Yuka Po battling for second place. The champion is back in town. Yuka Po going after Leonardo Mori into the first corner. No waiting around from Yuka Po. That's why he's the reigning champion. What an absolute screamer from Yuka Po. Give him half an inch, a decent go-kart, and a bit of track to play with, and the champion will show everybody why he is. Fantastic. So Yuka Bo in his second place. And look further back, that's going to be a big lunge for fourth place. Oh, it's a little bit scrappy, but it works. As Kai Burke manages to get up the inside of Banushtinmonkong. That's now for fourth position. So, of course, Kai Burke is now in the unfortunate position of driving angry. But he could go quicker as a result. But out in front, it's Galin Berti gallivanting into the lead and charging away from the reigning champion. The reigning junior champion now in front of the reigning senior champion. Galin Berti from Yuka Po, then Mori, Burke, Stinmonkong, and Didi Tse. Didi Tse in the top 6 in her senior X30 comeback. Wonderful to see. Well, that just goes to show she took over a year out of racing to focus on her studies. It was all worth it because she's come back fast, motivated, aggressive, and mature. And she's right up there in the top 6 now, fighting for her own right to be on the podium. Great stuff from Didi Tse. 7th from Nadalimjit Panya, Jerry Chi. Good work from Panya Yamchan as well. Panya Yamchan now in 9th position. Don't forget, this is her first weekend in Senior X30. And she's got some pressure as well. Oh, she's been passed. It's Mika Slabbert. Mika Slabbert doing very well. Now up to 9th position from the back of the grid pretty much. So Mika Slabbert giving the birthday boy, his father Morn, a very nice race at the circuit. Beautiful stuff. That's now P9 for the Stratos driver. So let's see if there's any more in the tank, because of course now the 9th place battle is quite a considerable way back from the 5th place battle. But if they hold each other up, there's a chance of making it work. Meanwhile, Kai Burke has done his homework to close up on Leonardo Mori, and he wants to get into 3rd position. Very solid work, but he's going to have to try and make a slam dunk maneuver out of the final hairpin. He may get a chance into turn 1. Kai Burke pushing. Is there a gap on the inside? Yes, there is. Lovely from Kai Burke. Into 3rd position he goes. A stunning overtake. And now he's just one man between himself and Galin Berti. The biggest problem he's got, though, isn't getting ahead of Yuka Po. It's how much time he's lost to Galin Berti up front. So at least Kai Burke can get himself into 2nd position. He's got a little bit of time to play with. But Yuka Po is not going to be an easy man to overtake at all. Don't forget, this is the man who he duelled with in the season finale at Bira last year for the Senior X30 title. It was Yuka Po who came out on top, but Kai Burke is the man on form this time. It's going to be close as they come through the hairpin at the end of the lap into lap number 6. And is Kai Burke going to pull off the same move on Yuka Po? No, he's going to find another one. There's Mori, P4 for 7 Racing. Up the straight, Burke absolutely launches in on Yuka Po. No waiting around from the Aussie. P2 for Kai Burke. Lovely bit of racecraft from the Bundaberg boy wonder. Fabulous job. And so into P2. What a recovery from Kai Burke. And that should be giving everybody goosebumps tomorrow, because that is a scary return to form for Kai Burke. He is in the form of his life right now. And even though Galin Berti is dominating this one, you can't deny his disqualification from Heat 1. He's going to be further back on the grid in the pre-finals tomorrow. So if Kai Burke gets a clean start with 2 wins and a 2nd today, he could be unstoppable tomorrow. So although Kai Burke may have lost this battle, he's definitely looking good to win the war. But Galin Berti bangs in another fastest lap, 50.90 from Andrea Galin Berti. He's only 1.6 seconds off the pole position that he set earlier on. That is incredible with the tyre degradation they've currently got. What an amazing drive this is from the man up front. So Galin Berti determined to get rid of the memory of that first faux pas. That's all done. That's ancient history. Now he can go for the victory in the final. If he manages it, it'll be one heck of a return to form. Meanwhile, there is Didi Tse, now in P5. So at the expense of Banushtinmonkong, Didi Tse is into 5th position. Giving chase is Nadalimjit Panya, but Didi Tse is having a fantastic drive here at Bira. She was nervous in testing. I was having a great conversation with her yesterday. She said to me, as long as I can place in the top 10, I'll be happy with myself. Top 10? What about top 5, Didi? Don't sell yourself short. Excellent work. And that was an aggressive drive to get her into P5 as well. These are not easy drivers to overtake. And she is there on merit in P5. Great work from the 16-year-old. Nada Limjitpanya, P6. He can't catch her at the moment. She's a very quick driver at the best of times, and certainly here at Bira, she's got the pace and she's got the measure. So Didi Tse going very strong at the moment. Imjitpanya P6, Jerry Chi not far away in 7th, and then it is Panushtin Kong. 9th place for Mika Slabbert, and in 10th place at the moment. That looks to me like Wanlap Radhanajan. And then it is Panya Yamchan, 11th position in front of Johanathan Mush, Zachary Boyce, Jenny Bibanet, and Tarafa Borakat Superchok. Sadly, we do have some retirements. Dominic Setyevan is one of them, and so is Kian Shah. So that's 2 Biralarts out of the race. And yet again, a non-start from the withdrawal of Jamie Ambrose. So with just about 4 laps to go, once Andrea Galimberti comes out of the final turn and crosses the line, the Italian is looking so smooth and comfortable out front, putting to bed all of the doubts after the first heat, just making sure this race goes his way. Kai Burke 2nd, Yukapo 3rd, then Mori, Tse, Imjitpanya and Ji. Stimran Kong is 8th in front of Slabbert and Yamchan. And then we have Mush ahead of Boyce, Bibede and Wubasukwachok. Aidan Forbes doing a fair job in 16th place, albeit now about 8 seconds back. But let's not forget that he is the youngest man in the field. And Senior X30 is a very tough grid of drivers to throw yourself into, especially when Aidan Forbes hasn't actually been karting that long. So to jump straight in at the peak level of Senior X30, that is a mammoth task, and fair play to him. He is acquitting himself very well considering. Galimberti out in front, 3rd position, youngest man in the field, ahead of Kai Burke and Yukapo. Not bad going for your first weekend in Thailand as a senior. He was a very competitive man at LYL the first weekend of the season. But Galimberti is really hitting his stride as a Senior X30 driver. Imagine what doors could open for him with this kind of pace. Youngest man in Senior X30. And he's emulating, in my mind at least, a young Oliver Behrman, who in the European category, first weekend in Senior X30 when it was in Valencia in the Winter Cup, he rose to the challenge, he dominated everybody, and we never saw him again. Straight up into the world of F4, dominated there. Now, well, the rest is history. He's a Haas F1 driver and a Ferrari junior. Andrea Galimberti, as a proud Italian, would certainly love to emulate that in the future, and there's no reason why he couldn't. If you can go from X30 to Formula One, like Oliver Behrman did, then there's no stopping Galimberti doing the same. Out through the hairpin. So smart, so smooth. And he's in his rhythm, 2.5 seconds clear of Kai Burke. This is wonderful from the young man who lives in Chengdu in China. Originally from Desenzano, the beautiful Lake Garda region of Italy, which is pretty much the capital city of karting in the modern era. But this is a fabulous run from Galimberti, well clear of Kai Burke. Yukapo keeping it nice and steady in 3rd position. And this will tidy things up neatly in a bow for all of us in Senior X30. And it will certainly give us 3 different double-header race winners. Garcia has won twice. Burke has won twice. And now Galimberti is going to win twice as well. And that means that it's anybody's guess who's going to win the final tomorrow. But certainly we know our heroes heading into a brilliant Sunday of racing. And as they come down the back straight for the last time, Saturday is almost Saturday as Andrea Galimberti comes through the final couple of corners, and he will be the vanquished foe no longer. Brilliant run from the Italian, 2 out of 3, the same as Aaron Garcia and Kai Burke. They go head to head tomorrow, and I can't wait to see what happens. What a rejuvenation from the Italian. Galimberti takes the win from Kai Berg, Yuka Po, Leonardo Mori and Didi Tse in the top 5. 6th place for Jerry Chi, Naradim Chimpanya 7th, from Ranlok Radhanajan, Banush Tinmonkong, and in the top 10, Mika Slabbert. So what a stunning end to the day of racing in Senior X30. We have our victors, we have our dominators. Luke Armstrong, the king of Master X30. Tanawaret Vejabuti, king of Junior X30. Chinawaret Vejabuti in Cadet X30. And a trio